The most stressful part of your job may not be the actual job. It may be a boss who is incompetent, insecure, and or immature. So if you're like, "Oh, I think you talking to me," then you need to watch this conversation because we're going to talk more about bosses who are incompetent, insecure, and immature. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. So we are hosting the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women starting May 1st. It will be May 1st to the 3rd, teaching Black women about how to exit plan. So we know that these jobs right now are very unstable. So the importance for us as Black women to have exit plans ready so that when something happens or whenever we want to move, that we have a plan for how we're going to replace our income and how we're going to replace our insurance and our benefits. So information about getting on the waiting list for that is going across the screen, and it will also be in the description section of this video. So today we have a very special treat that I have my very dear friend here today, Colette Elizabeth. So if you watch me on YouTube, you know you have heard me talk about Colette Elizabeth. I always say, my dear friend, and you have heard me this quote from my dear friend Colette Elizabeth when she talks about bosses who are insecure, immature, and incompetent. So you have heard this before, but today we're going to take a deeper dive into what we mean about these qualities of a so-called boss. So I also want to say that Colette and I called each other the Harriets.
Yes.
And also Marissa Price is a part of that as well. So we call ourselves the Harriets because we help liberate Black women from oppressive environments. So we are the Harriets. So this Tuesday, we're actually going to be all three of us together, the Harriets, on Harriet Tubman Day. So hopefully you can tune in this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So my dear friend Colette Elizabeth, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, as my dear friend, my little sister, I'm the oldest. Sister Harriet said, my name is Colette Elizabeth, and I am a content creator here on YouTube. I talk a lot about rebuilding your confidence, resilience after leaving a toxic job. I love collaborating with my little sister Harriet, Dr. Kimani. We're always talking about something, and we always end up somehow with similar ideas. So
I know, right?
yes, you'll see us collaborating quite a bit. So today we're going to be talking about some of the things that you'll see are characteristics, primary characteristics that I have noticed in a toxic boss or in toxic leadership.
Yes, thank you, Colette. And I just want to say too that just the beauty of YouTube, because I met you on YouTube, which is amazing.
Yes.
So Colette and I are both in California, but she's in Northern California, I'm in Southern California, and we met because of both of us talking about toxic jobs on YouTube. And
Right.
so we were able to connect on YouTube, and she has become one of my closest friends.
Yes.
So I so appreciate my dear friend. So Colette, you know, I've been saying to you, you need to trademark this quote. A boss who is insecure, incompetent, immature, you need to watch out for them. I was like, girl, that is just mic drop. How did you come up with that quote? So can you share with us what are the signs or the characteristics that Black women need to be aware of or mindful of in relation to those qualities that we talked about?
So when I reference, a boss that's incompetent, insecure, immature, I got that from my observations of almost 30 years working my recent job that I retired from in 2001, where I served as a manager, upper management, and having dealt with being bullied, harassed as a manager, and then seeing these same perpetrators use those same tactics on some of the other management team and staff. I noticed those three commonalities in the characteristics of the toxic bosses. So the first one I'll talk about and it's kind of obvious when you experience it. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes because of gaslighting, you don't always
Mhm.
recognize it right away. So let's talk about
Mhm.
incompetence, for example.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Many times, well, most of the time, as Black women, when we go into these workspaces, we are triple qualified for those positions that we end up getting. Okay. And that's just a fact.
Mhm.
And, despite all of the comments about, affirmative action and DEI and what have you, without all that, we were already qualified. Those programs, for some people, helped them to get to be looked at, even though they
Mhm.
were qualified, jobs that they would
Mhm.
not get, okay, because of
Mhm.
their color, right? So
Mhm.
we know that. We know that that Black women tend to be overqualified for the positions that they're in, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so what you have when you're in a situation like that is your person that you're reporting to, your boss, your supervisor, manager, or leader, in many cases tend to be women who do not look like us. In some cases, they do look like us, but most of the time, the statistics show they don't look like us. They're white women,
Mhm.
okay, who
Mhm.
actually benefited from the affirmative action uh, initiatives the most. And what you find is that you tend to have more education than those individuals. You tend to have more experience than those individuals. And you tend to have more accolades than those individuals. Okay.
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
bringing that to a job that
Mhm.
requires you to use all of it. Okay.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
wants to leverage all of your skills, talents, abilities that you were hired for. But then you're
Mhm.
reporting to an individual who does not have most of what you have.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Who
Mhm.
maybe they got hired because they were somebody's niece, somebody's daughter.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that they don't necessarily have the educational background.
Mhm.
In my experience, most of them did not, but
Oh.
sometimes they do. But
Mhm.
they are a lot of times hired not because of a proven past, but because of what the person who's head up potential.
Oh, their potential.
So
Yes.
they're hired, they get an opportunity to prove themselves. Whereas we as
Mhm.
Black women, we are only hired after we have a double, triple, quadruple proven record.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But
Right.
we
Yes.
come in there performing. We come in there. So when we came to the table, okay, we brought 920 skills.
Right.
Okay.
Right, right. So they're one. And the thing about it is that, again, for us to even get looked at, we have to be overqualified. So they want us because we're overqualified. So they know we're going to do the work. Yet when we come into the environment, then their own insecurities about, wait a minute, this person has more experience, they're doing a better job. Like all these other things start cropping up. And that's why I have an issue about it. Well, one of the issues I have with imposter syndrome is
Yeah.
that we've had some lively conversations about
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
One of the issues I have about that is that when I think about so-called insecure bosses, is that it's oftentimes as Black women, we know when we come to the workplace, many times we know about our abilities because we have to portray ourselves as very confident. Like we have to get all the degrees and certifications. Like we have to do those things. So we don't feel like we kind of slid in there and like we know what we're
Mhm.
working with. The thing is that people are projecting things
That's right.
onto us. And so it's more of the external stuff, it's less of the internal.
Right.
But because of the external, we might start questioning ourselves,
Yes.
right? And
Right.
so I'm just thinking that that might happen more so often when you have these insecure bosses. And so I remember Alicia Renese did some really good videos a while back, and she talked about like who's the real imposter, right? And I
Right.
did a reaction to that because I was like, that is so true because when you think about an insecure boss, I'm thinking an insecure boss is the real imposter because they're scared that you're going to show them up because you're doing so well. You're going to make them look bad and they're supposed to be supervising you, right? So they got to
Right.
put you in your place. And it causes them to feel a sense of like their own incompetence. So they feel bad about themselves. So they're even harder on you.
Right, right. And so, I was speaking about incompetent bosses, but incompetent bosses and insecure bosses, when the actual behavior comes across, they go together. Because what happens is that person who is, if you're competent and you know your stuff, like we do when we come into the
Mhm.
place, we
Mhm.
don't worry about what other people know or think about their
Mhm.
own skills. Okay.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
don't think about, okay, Sally know how to do, she can type 80 words a minute or what have you, or she can, we don't think like that. What we
Right.
think is we're looking at, okay, what is the task or the position or the role I have been asked to play on this team or on
Mhm.
this management group or on whatever in this unit? That's what we look
Mhm.
at. That's what we look at. And
Mhm.
so we are always looking to ensure that we are, fulfilling the different tasks, fulfilling the different assignments, and that we're meeting the specific competencies that the job requires.
Mhm.
Whereas an incompetent person, which goes with insecurity too, in terms of how I refer to it,
Mhm.
they're looking at you. They're comparing
Mhm.
themselves to you. We're comparing
Good
ourselves
point.
to ourselves.
Good
You
point.
know,
Good point.
we're comparing ourselves to ourselves because
Mhm.
I remember having conversations where a person this person that we were talking to, I was talking to, actually several different situations.
Mhm.
One, this person was like, well, we do this and we have that and we should. And I said, I have a master's degree. This girl graduated from high school and she putting us in a we, and we were looking at promotional opportunities together. Okay.
Hmm.
And so
Mhm.
she was putting the we about the qualifications,
Hmm.
trying to justify how she qualified for positions where it listed, we want this, we want that, we want this. Now, when you apply for different jobs, they do those alternatives for them because a lot of
Mhm.
times they don't meet the qualifications, whereas
Right.
we meet it to a T and exceed it. So me and this person were talking, and she didn't meet any of the qualifications. It was, I'm going to make up the stuff. It was like, 4 years of management experience, in this area, in that area, having been, project management experience, agile method, using agile methodology. That is a project management term.
Mhm.
And I'm just making this up. And
Mhm.
so we're looking at it together, and she was thinking of ways to qualify because
She didn't
she
meet the
didn't.
criteria.
I
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
So I had to
Mhm.
correct her and say, I don't need that pronoun we, because me, Colette Elizabeth, I meet the criteria. In fact, I
Right.
exceed the criteria. So I don't
Hmm.
need any alternatives. I don't need to show, you know, um, 4 years of experience for each 1 year degree. I don't need to do that.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So, and,
Mhm.
and, and not trying to be arrogant, but just keeping it 100% real, because what you'll
Yeah.
find is that what I have found
Mhm.
is that it doesn't matter how many degrees you have,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter how much experience you have. My experience has been that when you are working, or when I've worked with, Laura, she always felt she was equal to me.
Ah.
Okay.
Mhm.
She always felt that my experience, even if I had 10 years of management experience and she has two, because of
Mm.
that complexion,
Mm.
okay, she's equal to me.
Right. So even though it wasn't spoken, there was an understanding or presumption that, oh, we're on the same level. And you're
That
like,
we're on the same
no, we're not
level.
on the same level.
Right. And I, I'm not the most humble person all the time. I had to say, we're not even in the same room. We just are not. We just are not. Now I can help you get to where I am, and
Right.
so the incompetent part comes in where these individuals will, um, like a project could be assigned, right? An assignment. I'll give you a real life example, and
Mhm.
let me know if you want to jump in there. But I'll give you a real life example.
Mhm.
Right before I retired from a
Mhm.
state agency,
Mhm.
The state had decided to open a new call center.
Mhm.
Okay. So I had come back to my office that I was working in. I had been away for about almost 4 years. I had two
Mhm.
2-year assignments, and
Mhm.
those assignments were given to me because I was being harassed, and they didn't want to deal with the harassment. So they put me on some
Mhm.
high profile assignments working in our central office, okay,
Mhm.
and working on
Mhm.
big, huge assignments.
Mhm.
So when I came back to my office, I had to, of course, report to one of these folks, an incompetent
Mhm.
person, and I'll give you an example. So they tell me, okay, we're starting a new call center, and we're
Mhm.
going to want you to manage that call center.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, the reason they wanted me to manage the call center was because then I wouldn't report to this same person. Okay, once the call center came up, I think
Mhm.
they were afraid they were going to get sued. Okay,
Mhm.
and they were.
Mhm.
So what happened was I reported in our office in Sacramento. I reported to a person who was over way up, like
Mhm.
way up in the
Mhm.
agency, and
Mhm.
he had already told me about the call center. So I already knew that I probably was going to be running it.
Mhm.
But this person who I reported back to didn't tell me this yet. She still
Mhm.
continued to harass me and withhold information from me. Now we're
Mhm.
opening a new call center.
Mhm.
So in
Mhm.
all the all staff meetings, that includes the management and staff, she would talk about this call center. In the
Mhm.
background, I am coordinating the project.
Mhm.
That means
Mhm.
I'm getting everything up. Opening a call center is not, oh, you open an office. No, you got infrastructure, you got IT you're dealing with, you got all kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So she tells the staff, well, we've never done this before. So there will be a mistake. She's talking for all of the management team,
Mhm.
knowing that I'm going to be managing this. And then
Mhm.
somebody said, well, we heard Colette is going to manage the call center or something
Mhm.
like that. And
Mhm.
this was a virtual call. This is,
Mhm.
we were all working from home. So she said, well, yeah, but this is new to all of us. So then they said, well, so Colette's going to be running it. And so I got in there. I said, well, let me
Mhm.
explain something to you all, because the people were nervous because some
Mhm.
of them were going to be mandatorily reassigned to this call center. So
Mhm.
I explained to them, I said, yes, it's my understanding that I will be the field office manager of this call
Mhm.
center. And just to assure you all, this is not my first time bringing up a call center. This is my third
Mhm.
time bringing
Oh,
the call center up. I said, I
okay.
started the call center here. And they said, oh, yeah, that's right. I said, and I also started the call center so and so. I said,
Mhm.
so those are call centers that I actually, one implemented from scratch and one I took from another office like this one. I said, so
Mhm.
I'm very well, equipped, and I'm very
Mhm.
familiar with the way that call center initial implementation runs. I'm
Mhm.
familiar with training. As you guys know, I'm the training manager, reported to me. So you guys will be trained and will also, I told them, and you also be
Mhm.
socialized in how to come from your current positions to this positions if you are selected to come over to the call center.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then I had to drop the mic. So then her boss, the administrator, who knew I was being left out of these meetings, they weren't putting me on I was in them, but they weren't putting me on the agenda to speak. He said, "Oh, you guys, and from now on, I meant to tell you, he lying. Colette gonna be on all of the agendas to speak about the updates of the new call center."
So she was undermining you before you even stepped into the role.
She tried. She tried it.
Mhm. Mhm.
She
But
tried
you
it.
know what was going on. You're like, "Okay, I see what's happening. So let me
Right.
establish that I know what I'm talking about."
Let's clear
And
the
trying to plant those seeds of like that you don't know what you're talking about. That
right.
you don't have experience.
They gonna give this. Colette gonna run it, but
But
it's all new to us. So
right.
that's what I mean by correcting the record. You can't speak
Mm.
for me. That it's not new for us. It's new for you, because I didn't want to go there. Because the truth of the matter is, I've been in management 10 years longer than you. I've been
Uh-huh.
working for this department 20 years longer than you. You know,
Uh-huh.
it's
So
just
what do you think is behind this sense that equating a sense of credentials or experience, even though they don't equate? What do you think that's about? Why do you think they do that?
Insecurity, jealousy. I gotta be better. I gotta put the black girl in her place.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same old thing. This is no different than
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about. I'll switch to beauty for a minute. You remember back in we talk about how in Louisiana they made black women wear the wraps over their head
Mm-hmm.
because why? They were
Mm-hmm.
jealous of our hair,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jealous of our skills,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
jealous of, and the thing about it is so sad because if you are my boss and you feel you see something in me
Mm-hmm.
that you want, you get all the credit for everything I do.
Mm-hmm. You
You
would
don't
think
need,
that way. You would think that way, right? Like, okay, this makes you look better. But
right?
because they're so insecure, they cannot do that. Like, they cannot grapple with the thought of, okay, it might make me look better, but it'll make her look better too. And they cannot stand that. So they would
Yes.
just rather you fail.
Right.
And then they say, oh, see, we told you she was no good, no matter if it will make the organization function better, nothing.
And I think that's more of where the immaturity comes in.
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
a mature leader, okay, an emotionally immature leader, a mature leader, period,
mhm.
understands that you are only as good as your team. Your
Right.
team is not there. And I heard John Maxwell, he actually told me this in person when I had asked him a question for somebody. He said, listen, the biggest thing that he sees with leaders is they don't understand that your team is not there to compete with you. Your team is there to
Mhm,
complete you.
mm,
Okay. And so
mhm,
if you are so, an immature person doesn't
mhm,
understand that if you have the most valuable player on your team is winning.
mhm.
You may not be the most valuable player, but if you got the person on your team, you're winning.
Right,
You're
right,
winning.
right,
And
right,
it's
right.
less pressure on you. So one of the things, and I'll say this about myself, one of the things I was known for.
Mhm,
People say, Colette, how you go on vacation and not worry about your managers that report to you running your office? I said, because
mhm,
I have trained them, I have
mhm,
coached them, I have mentored them, and
mhm,
I get it. I have people in the positions where their gifts or their talent,
mhm,
they're in the appropriate position. And when they
mhm.
make a mistake, you know, they have room to grow.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
And you were able to recognize like who does best
Right
and what
away.
thing. And so you guys are working together for the good of
That's
the
right.
organization as
That's
opposed
right.
to like an immature, insecure boss who
Right.
feels the need to compete all the times with the team.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. I'm like, don't you have other work to do?
Right.
Why are you
Right.
trying to compete with your team?
Right. And what they don't get, like even when they think, a lot of them think, oh, she want my job. You know how many managers that reported to me that came to me and said, I want your job? Most of them. And I said,
Mm,
okay, come on, let me show you how you're gonna start, and so I would build that into their leadership development plan, or I have them build it into their leadership development plan. Because what I've always explained to people who have reported to me, my job
mm,
is to prepare for my exit. That's it.
mm, mm,
Because
mm,
as the
mm,
administrative leader of the area that I was over, the offices, I had different offices. My job is to make sure that that office can run with or without me. And if that office cannot run without me, I'm the problem.
mm.
I am the problem,
Absolutely.
right?
You're fostering dependency
That's right.
and that the organization or the team is going to fail without you always being present.
That's right. That's right. So I had managers that I didn't really like as a person that reported to me that told me I want your job. They got it. I trained
Mhm.
them. I coached them. That was a part of my job.
And so it wasn't about personnel. It wasn't personal.
It's not personal. My job is
Mm.
to, at that time, my job was to hire, train, mentor, and coach managers. And I have to, they have to know what I know.
Mhm. Mhm.
They have to know what, and then they have to, I have to be open because I don't know everything.
Mhm.
They are, they can see blind spots that I don't see. And I have to be
Mm.
open and willing to learn from them. So I like to create what's called learning working places. everybody's learning, and that's what I liked, and the way you do that is you can't punish people for making mistakes. Now, people
Mhm.
continuing to do stuff. I've had to write people up. I've had to terminate
Mhm.
people, right? I'm
Mhm.
not going to keep telling you 900 times, right?
Mhm.
But people have to be able to have room and freedom to make mistakes. And then as a leader, you have to take the hit for that. I had situations where my managers did make mistakes. They did not do what I instructed them to do. And then somebody came down from up, header up, and said, "This
Mhm.
is what's happening." I didn't say I told them to do that. I said,
Mhm.
okay. And I took the hit for that, right?
Mm.
That's because
Yeah.
that's where maturity happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And I think you reminded me of something I read years ago about distinguishing a leader from a boss.
Right.
Right? So
Those are different.
you're sounding like you're talking about a leader, like someone who's secure in themselves, they know their identity. And I'm wondering the person who does not prepare for their exit, the person who's competing with the team, the person who withholds information, the person who for their team will throw people on their team under the bus. Like those kind of people, can we talk a little bit about their identity in the sense of like because I'm sensing that the job title gives him such power.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have people who are what's called there's different types of leaders. There are
Mhm.
positional leaders and then there are influential leaders.
Mm,
Positional leaders, they sort of boss people around and expect them to comply based
mm,
on the fact that I am the boss, I am the leader. Then you have influential leaders. Influential leaders are people who are leaders and they may not necessarily have the title. Okay. Influential leaders, they're more into garnering commitment. So I would prefer somebody to be committed to the vision that I am putting out there than somebody just doing it because they're scared because I'm the boss and I might do something.
mhm,
No,
mhm,
so one of them, when you're a positional leader, they don't spend the time necessarily to explain the why, or
mm,
they don't spend the time to get the buy-in from the folks that they lead. They don't realize that when you are leading folks, okay, folks need to know where are we going? Why are
mhm,
we going
mhm,
there? Keep in mind,
mhm,
there's sometimes you're not always able to share the why when it's an emergency and you have to pivot quickly, right?
mhm, mhm,
But you have to communicate things in such a way that people say, "Oh, you know what? I understand that part. I'll ask later." And they know that you will give them the information. Me, I was more into commitment. Okay, this is the vision. This is how where we're going. People can ask
mhm,
why, well, why are we not doing this? And answer those questions. Not
mhm,
be so insecure to take it as a personal attack on you when staff question you. Now, as a black manager, I have
mhm,
had as a black female manager, I have been questioned. And I knew it was just because I'm black. And sometimes you know how they say, I want the real doctor, or I want the real boss.
mhm,
And
mhm,
sometimes people had to get checked. And that did happen.
mhm,
I'm not gonna lie
mhm,
about that. That happened.
mhm,
Sometimes you got
mhm.
checked and you gonna be all right. Okay.
Right, right, right.
Sometimes people got checked. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat that. And there were times when I just had to just be straight up. This is how
Yeah.
it's going. And there were times when I had people who made it clear that they had an issue with me because of my color, my race,
Mm,
my sex, and they
mm,
had some struggles. And they would,
mm.
there would be some power struggles. And I've had to tell them, you know what? I have the power and you got the struggle. And so, how do you want to go forth? Let me know.
Straight, straight
Right,
direct.
right,
Yeah.
right. I,
And you know
I,
what I appreciate about that, Colette? You know what I appreciate about how you talked about your leadership was that you spoke about what was happening. You
yes,
didn't take it personal and get nasty with people because I have experienced bosses who have done that. Like there's such a level of fear within everybody at the job, like fear of what if we act, what if we say something that she doesn't like, or what if we what if we do something and then she retaliates? That was a very
Yes,
real fear.
yes, yes.
So can we talk about, because that was beautiful how you were like, I checked them, but it wasn't like unprofessional. You checked them. It was no fear involved. Like they were scared about, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my job. Can we talk about that fear element? Those bosses who reign with that level of fear. And it's almost like just causing such terror in the
Mhm.
workplace.
They do. And you have that. You do have that. I think people who are in toxic environments where there is a pattern of ruling by fear, that's very
Hmm.
real. I would
Hmm.
say something like 90% of the people who are in leadership rule that way.
Ooh.
And this is me looking. This is
Ooh.
me being in these meetings, listening to managers talk about how they said this to their staff and how they said that to their staff, and me saying, I can't tell you how many times, and I'll get to your question in a minute, but I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many times I was in management team meetings where I would hear a manager saying, she did this and this and this, and I said A, B, and I'm gonna do this. And I would say, you know what? Um, we have a lot of leverage. But just because we can do something does not mean we should do it. Should
Mm.
you be doing that? I would check
Mm.
managers in management team meetings.
Mm.
Okay, I wasn't very popular when it comes to with managers who rule that way, because what they're doing is they're harming the staff. They're harming, first of all, our staff is our first customers. Okay, so
Mm.
you're providing bad customer service, internal
True.
customer service. You're providing bad customer service to that staff. Then you're
Mhm.
providing bad customer service to me as your peer, because when I get that staff, they're mad, they're upset, and they're coming to me with baggage.
Mm.
You had a guest on a couple of weeks ago who talked about some of the experiences she had with other Black managers. And so when she got a Black manager, she had,
Mhm.
I'm going to just say this word, she didn't say that, she had an attitude with them without even knowing them.
She had a hard time. She couldn't receive
It
because
very
it was
strong.
triggering for her.
It was
Yeah.
triggering. And so that person who or persons who did that to her, they
Mhm.
they were providing me with bad customer service, because now I have
Mm.
this person. I'm
Right.
having to spend a lot of time, in energy that I could be spending on something else,
Mhm.
having to show this person not all managers are like that. But you had asked
Mhm.
about managers and people who are in fear. A lot of times those people, they're fearful. They know, many of them, that they have positions that they did not earn, that they're not
Mm.
equipped for. Those are
Mhm.
the ones who are that imposter syndrome. They
Ah.
don't want people pulling the cover and seeing behind the veil that they not the Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
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 That they the little man, remember the movie The Wizard of Oz? They had little, and they're like,
Right.
yeah, you know,
Right.
they they don't want people to see that, but what they don't realize is we already see it.
Right. The fact that you reign like that is the telltale sign there's some number one, there's something wrong with you. Number
Right.
two, that you're so invested in being so cruel, there's something behind it. So if you're trying to hide something, it's actually doing the opposite effect.
It's doing the opposite. It's doing the
Yeah.
opposite. It's doing
Yeah.
the opposite. And I remember one of the main ones. She was awful. She actually, anyway, that's a whole nother video. We'll talk about it at another time. But I remember somebody saying, or her saying, somebody saying, well, if A, B, C, and D, you wouldn't have a job. And I said, I will always have a job. I might not have this job.
Okay.
I might not have this job, but I
Mm-hmm.
will always have a job as long as I want to work.
Right. Right. Right.
So putting out those flags that I have this control over you, and they do have some control, right?
True. True.
But you have control too.
Mm.
And sometimes, you know, we have to make a decision about how much of the BS we gonna take, how
True.
much of it, because at the time I was dealing, I've talked about being in a toxic job. One time
Mm-hmm.
I had two daughters. I was rearing two daughters by myself. I had been
Mm-hmm.
divorced, and
Mm-hmm.
what was I gonna do? you know. And I was in such a situation to where if I went somewhere, this person was going to give me a bad reference,
You
right?
felt stuck.
So I was stuck until I went to the legislators of our state, okay, which
Mm,
I did, okay, and they said, okay, we better do something about this, okay.
mhm,
But
mhm.
getting back to the fear part, people who reign in fear, they like to do the divisive type tactics. So they'll have an in group and an out group. And
Clicks.
so
They will
that
have
there
clicks.
you go. And so that in group, okay, is the group that tries to get next to the so-called boss. And you're wondering, well, how does she know this? And how does she know that? This person is telling them this. Your
Mhm,
friend, your work friend, okay,
mhm,
who's always up in her face, always in his
mhm,
face, always going to coffee with the boss. And
mhm.
so um when they reign with fear, they rely on the insider. So that's an actual term, a leadership term in our group. Um, and when they do this, they make sure that the out group, okay, the out group knows that they're in the out group. They
Ooh.
don't get the same, they don't know about the highly visible, possibly promotable projects. They find out about them last. They're the
Mm,
ones who, when those projects come up, all of a sudden we got to have procedures on selecting folks, and we got to follow the procedures. We got to interview, we got to test. But those in
mhm,
the in group, oh, it was a quick decision, so we selected this person, and that person is always selected. Some
mm,
people call it the pet, the teacher's pet, right?
mhm,
And that
mhm.
exists on the job.
Oh my gosh, you made me
Yeah,
think about something. Let me just share some really quick,
yeah,
Colette. So, I was just thinking about my previous toxic job and how the workplace bully had her friend, right? And she would always find a position for her friend. She had cliques and she was very messy in terms of like gossip, okay? So, this person went away, ended up coming back to the district, and she magically created a position for him that didn't exist.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So all these other times, like, oh, we don't have the money for this, or we don't have the money for this. But she created a
That's right.
position for him. And she would constantly find positions for him. And she would even say, telltale, she said something like, he has the potential. He has the
Yes.
potential. But
Yes.
guess what, Colette? Everybody in that unit knew that he was not competent. You know
That's
what
right.
I'm saying? So she was setting him up for failure because everybody in that unit was like, this man is not competent. We know that he got in this position because he's your friend, but guess what? She's not competent too.
That's
So
right.
it's kind of like, well, now what benefit do the cliques serve the insecure, immature, incompetent boss? How do cliques serve their benefit?
So they serve their benefit because we see it happening now in politics, in certain administration, where they are yes people.
Mm,
They're not going to tell you something is wrong. A lot of
right.
times, incompetent people and insecure people, they surround themselves with other incompetent people. They didn't keep all, they didn't keep all the people who know out,
Because
right?
they don't want to be revealed as imposters.
Because
Because they
they
get a good salary. They get a good salary, probably knowing that they can't go anywhere else and get this kind of salary
they
because
can't
they're
go nowhere.
incompetent.
They're
Yeah.
incompetent. They're incompetent, and it's funny because even the place where I worked, I still some people contact me still, and they're like, Colette, they had to do 3 people to take over your position, you
Mm,
know, and so I said, well, who were they? And they tell me the people. I'm like, them people don't have no experience in that area, none. So
mhm,
the incompetent person, that in group is like, that's their team, that's their cheerleaders,
uh-huh,
and they boost them up, right? They tell them, that they can do things that these people can't do. Because a lot
mm,
of times when they have those yes men, right? It's
mhm,
people who they see themselves higher than.
mm,
Well, let me
mhm,
tell you, I remember one time this manager, who was my manager actually.
mhm,
So we were in an upper management team meeting. It was because
mhm,
the upper management team of this one office it included 4 of us. The
Mhm.
office manager, this is, before, this is in between when I had my own offices. Okay.
Mhm.
After they had kind of demoted me. So I was reporting to her. So it was her and then three of us who were at the same level. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so we were in the meeting and she tells us, well, I when you guys hear people talking, this is the field office manager making, I
Mhm.
forgot how much money. When
Mhm.
you guys hear people talking about me on the floor, I would appreciate it. My expectation is what she said is for you to protect me and,
What?
and take up for me and speak up for me. This is in a management team meeting of the executive of like
Are we in high school? Like, what? Is this high school? What's going on here?
the regional executive team.
Wow. Wow.
So she looks at and that day one of the people, the three of us at the level beneath her, one of them, he was gone, Hispanic man, he
Mhm.
wasn't in the meeting, but it was me and another Caucasian woman, and of course
Mhm.
my boss was Caucasian. So she looked at the one here, I'll call her Penny. She looked at Penny. And Penny was like, yeah, okay. And Penny was, because Penny played defense. Penny was
Okay.
Penny was like, okay. And then so she looks at me and I just looked back and she looked at me and I just looked back. And she says, well, Colette, can I depend on you? And I said, absolutely not.
That is
I said,
ridiculous.
I said, let me explain something to you. And I said, we can go ahead and document it that you asked me to do this and you can document my response. I
Mhm.
said, the thing about it is, I am not going to get involved in office drama when with a manager who sits on the floor gossiping with staff, and other
Oh,
staff are coming to tell me about my boss gossiping with another staff on the floor, and the staff can hear you. I said, that is not something that I'm interested in being involved with. And that
mm,
is not something that I will be involved with. I
good
said,
boundary.
as leaders, one of the things I expect is for
Mhm.
us to walk the walk. We're
Mhm.
supposed to demonstrate professionalism. And
Mhm.
if we're not demonstrating professionalism and we start to suffer the consequences of that unprofessionalism, I think it's
Mhm.
unfair to ask other people to engage in that.
Yeah. It's almost
And
like a gang. Like, "Oh,
yeah,
you talking about my girl?"
right.
Who you talking about? So, what how did she respond when you said that to her?
She was stupid. She just said, "Oh," and she did just like this. "Oh," and I said, "So," and then I said to give her an out because we had high cubicles. So we had these high cubicles where you couldn't see who, but you could hear. And
Mhm.
I said, and I gave her an out. I said, so let me just explain to you. I said, unfortunately, the high cubicles gives some people the false sense of privacy that does not exist.
Mm. Mm.
So we need to be careful who
Mhm.
we communicate, how we communicate, and what we say, because
Mm.
we don't know who can hear us on the floor when we're talking in these cubicles.
Mm. Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
left it at that.
Good, good. Colette, I have to stop myself because I want to interrupt you so bad.
It's
Not
okay.
interrupt you in a bad way because you know how we talk, right?
No, it's
It's
okay.
offline.
That's right.
But when you talked about the manager talking with the staff and gossiping about other staff,
And it was her.
that was rampant. I mean, rampant at my old job. What is that about? Like, don't as a leader, don't you know that that's inappropriate? Like, what is that about? Like, why would a leader do that? No, no, not a leader, a boss. Why would a boss do that?
People are people. Leaders, bosses, we're people. I ain't gonna say I've never gossiped. I've gossiped. I've listened to
Hmm.
gossip, right?
Hmm.
But the immaturity part comes in is when you sit and talk on the floor and people can hear you
Wow.
and you're talking about staff. And the
Wow.
thing is, The other part of the immaturity and the incompetence come in when you're talking to other staff about your management team.
Ooh.
So what I would hear, and I would hear all the time because they would come to me. The staff would say, I was getting ready to say the girl name. So and so is on the floor talking about da 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 da, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yes.
Wow.
So I'd say, I'd get the information documented. So da 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 da, and they would tell me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
are you okay? My whole thing is, how do you feel? I want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure the employee's okay because do you know how demoralizing it is
It's horrible.
for well, I'm sure for an
Well,
employee.
that happened to me actually,
Yeah.
Colette. Like the
Mhm.
workplace bully was bad mouthing me in a public area with another employee, not an administrator, with an employee. So she's making up a lie about me in a loud public place, right? But
Mhm.
never came to me and said, "Hey, da 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 da," or didn't happen, or nothing like that. So I know what that feels like. It's
Yeah.
humiliating. It's
Yeah.
humiliating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people who came to me, they weren't even the one being talked about. They were upset
Mhm.
because they were like, this is so unprofessional. Why can't I come
Mhm.
to work and do my work without hearing the manager of the office manager, gossip about other managers and
Wow.
gossip about other staff that are my friends or that are my coworkers?
Ooh, wow.
And I'm talking about personal stuff. And it's
Oh, yeah.
stuff like some of the stuff that the staff would tell me, I knew that she
Yeah.
said it, and it was sad because it's stuff that they would not know.
Right.
And then
Right.
let me give you the kicker. This came up again because in a management team meeting with all the managers, she brought up the fact staff are finding out what we talk about in the management team meeting. How are they finding out? And I
She told on
said,
herself. She told on herself.
yeah. And I said, because people are talking on the floor, managers. Now, I absolutely knew who was talking to who, not all the time, though, because I wasn't everywhere, but I knew she was one of the main people. Oh, and the other thing I want to say too is when we had that meeting in her office, and she had said, she would she want to know if we would protect her or whatever. The other thing I told her, I said, and I feel uncomfortable getting involved in something where you have managers having staff at their house.
True.
And the fact
True.
that I
I've heard
know
about that
this,
too.
I said, and the fact that I know that staff is at different managers' houses, that's a problem. Because that means that somebody is not confidential.
Exactly.
Because
And the fact that the manager would make it known that they're friends with staff. Like it's so many like boundary things that
right
are
now,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let me just say something about that. That happens because you get promoted out of staff and you were friends with these people 20 years and then you become a manager. You're not going to stop being their friend, right? I had that. I still have friends that I managed, right? And I had to put boundaries up and sometimes, I had to have them moved or whatever. So you're going to have friendships, but are you able to draw those lines? For example, there's nobody no staff member that I'm friends with can tell you that I ever shared any personnel information with them ever. In fact, I never went out when they would go out to dinner, out to drinking happy hour. Nobody saw me. And it wasn't Kimani that I didn't want to go with them. And it wasn't that I didn't like them. First of all, I was busy because I was a single mom of two babies, right? But this other thing is, I feel like when you have people going out, staff together, happy hour, I want them to be able to enjoy themselves, okay, without being worried about A, B, C, and D. The other thing is it's protection for me because if I'm out as a manager with staff and they, for example, start talking about how Steven was sexually harassing Kelly, I am mandated to act upon that because when you are a agent of the state, which I was as a manager, you could be personally held liable for not acting upon a sexual harassment allegation when you know about it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
it was protection for me and them,
Right.
because once I
Right.
know it, I can't unknow it. And
Right.
people need to be able to be free. Now, I did attend some offsite things, right?
Hmm.
But they can't ever say, "Oh, Colette was at the happy hour." No, Colette wasn't there. You
Right.
know,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And I wanted to circle back a little bit. So when I talked about friendships,
Uh-huh.
I was referring more so to the friendships where I'm speaking from, again, my own toxic work experience, where the workplace bully would have friends who were not administrators, and they would make it known that they were in the in group,
Uh-huh.
right? And
People
so they
like,
would say, "Oh, well, I'll just call the
mm-hmm,
workplace bully," right?
mm-hmm.
So it was like a boundary issue where
That's
it
right.
wasn't like, so that person had preferential treatment or things like that. Now, there's something else that I've experienced, Colette, and if you can elaborate on this too. I've also experienced situations where administrators, managers are like, like have meetings and they are actually talking in a very negative way about employees. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not even talking about their work performance. I'm talking about their personal business. I'm talking about, I mean, just very derogatory
Yes.
things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What is that about?
I'm telling you, it happens. First of all, I need to let you know, you're not making that up. That
Oh, I
happens.
know. Yeah.
Right? And I want the people who are listening, that happens because
Hmm.
you
I've
have
heard it.
people who are just, you have a person who was in high school, maybe they were not in the in group, now they the boss. Okay. And so they know everybody business. We would have management team meetings when I would know, for example, this person is getting divorced and marrying their husband's best friend. Why do I know this? How does that help me in the office? I don't want to know this. I don't care about it. Okay. And so that's where you have that level of incompetence, not understanding this is not a part of the job. And why do you know this? And not only that, you know, now let's say you know this information. What did you offer the person because they're going through divorce? Divorce is traumatic. I don't care who the person married or sleeping with. Did you offer them EAP? Did you you know what I'm saying? Why are you sharing this with 15 other managers that do not manage this person in a management team meeting? I used to have that happen, you know, or a person. I remember an administrator saying one time, yeah, you know, his mom is sick again, and I'm gonna make sure his claim is processed slow. I heard an administrator say that.
Wow.
Okay, so it's all of the things.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of the
Because
things.
I've definitely had situations where, because the environment was so toxic, again, we're talking about toxic system, okay?
Yes, it's a
The
system.
system was so toxic. I knew personal information about people that I don't ever wish I knew about.
That's right.
Like personal stuff about their families, themselves, their mental health issues, just very, very personal information. And I just felt like that was just so a betrayal. When people
Yeah,
open up to you, or not to me, but they open up to these people, and these people are just spreading their information all around,
yeah.
right? And then I just think too, Colette, like when I see stuff like that, I just hope that Black women, as you're hearing this conversation, that you're thinking about and listen to what we're saying, and you're like, "Ooh, I have seen that. I've observed that. I have to be mindful of my own boundaries." Like when I've seen people in the workplace gossip with other people, or I've seen the boss like ask about my personal business. Be very mindful of what information you share, because you don't know what they're going to do with that information and how it might be spun around, and you just don't know. You just
If
don't know.
you do not want that information on the front of a newspaper, I know they don't do newspapers anymore, but if you don't want it on the front of the newspaper, do not share it.
Yes.
If you are in a situation where you hear people gossiping about folks,
Hmm.
I encourage folks to do the little deacon hand of the church and excuse yourself.
Not the deacon hand.
The deacon hand, the deacon hand. And I'm gonna say this: the reason why I said Kumani is because when the stuff hits the fan, okay, and it will hit the fan,
Mhm.
they'll say, and Kumani knew,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and Kamani was there,
Yep.
and then you are dragged into something that you didn't even have nothing to do with.
You didn't even want to know.
You didn't want to know. And
Yeah.
even if you say, mm-hmm, just listening, they say,
Hmm.
and Kamani agreed with me.
Right. Oh,
You see, so I
yeah.
always encourage folks, one, that gossiping, keep your gossiping off the job with your off the
Hmm.
job friends. That's
Mm.
number one, if you gossip. Okay,
Hmm.
that's number one.
Hmm.
Number
Hmm.
two, understand um, that if somebody is talking to you about somebody else's business, they're taking your business somewhere else. I remember my mom
Absolutely.
told me a dog that'll bring a bone is going to take a bone.
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
Absolutely.
so those bone carriers are serious about their job. They serious, girl.
Yes, they are.
You got to understand and recognize who the and the bone keeper a lot of times could be the boss.
Absolutely.
The boss was a bone keeper, a bone carrier before he or she got promoted. Do you think they stopped
Hmm.
doing that? No, they don't.
Hmm.
They don't. They keep
Hmm.
doing it. I can't
Hmm.
tell you how many people, um, you know, and I was in management, so some stuff I needed to know. But for
Hmm.
example, some stuff that I did need to know and needed to be
Hmm.
aware of, I didn't know, and I should have,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, I remember, well, I won't bring this up on this show, but anyway, there's time. So you said, why do they do that? Insecure, like to keep the divisiveness. A lot of them also like to keep things on people. You remember, I won't tell nobody. Okay.
Insurance. It's
Well,
like
you do
insurance. It's almost like
this.
blackmail.
It is blackmail. That's what it
Yeah.
is. It is
Yeah.
like blackmail because we would sometimes say, what she got on him?
Mm.
Because you would see it.
Mm.
It would just be blatant.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you're like, one of three things is going on. They kicking it. He knew her or she knew him in the biblical sense.
Right.
She's somebody's cousin or they got something on them. And
Mm.
that's just what it is.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
and it happens at every level. We see it now at the
Mhm.
highest levels, right?
True.
We
True.
see it now. So, I think for Black women, what's important is when you get in these or you find yourself in a toxic job, and I know we haven't gotten here yet, start making your exit plan, start
Yeah.
gaining your skills, get what you can out of the job.
Mhm.
Okay, whatever it is, if it's to be able to say, I worked on this project for 2 years or
Mhm.
6 months, so you put on your resume, focus on why you are there. Um,
Mhm.
it got to the point, Dr. Kamani, where I worked, I used to refer people there all the time,
Mhm.
not where I work, but in different areas because I have to be careful too.
Mhm.
But it got to the point I stopped referring people. I said, you don't want to work there. And they said, well, I'm desperate. And I'm saying, okay, get in there, stay a year and leave.
Wow.
And those who were
Wow.
smart did that.
Mm.
And I tell them,
Mhm.
you can call them and ask them. I'd say, stay out of their business. Don't get the gossiping. Don't be
Mm.
involved in stuff. You know what I mean? Come to
Mhm.
work, do your job, and leave.
Get in, get out, and have your boundaries. Have your boundaries.
Your
You know,
boundaries.
there's another quote that you say a lot, Colette, and I quote you a lot about this. About
What?
it's a little different, but we're gonna put it all back together.
Okay,
When
what
you
it
talk about workplace buddies, and you
Oh
talk
yeah.
about not sharing your business with workplace buddies. And I quote you all the time about that. So I'm like, my friend Colette Elizabeth, she's a
Yes.
manager. Can you share with the people who are watching about the dangers of sharing your business with your workplace bestie?
Well, I don't want to say that you don't have friends in
Mhm.
the workplace, because one of my best friends over what 30 years, we worked together.
Mhm.
Okay. And we've been friends actually over 30 years. How old is my daughter?
Mhm.
28. So yeah, 30 years.
Mhm.
So it can happen, right?
Discretion, discretion.
Discretion, but you got to be mindful
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
who you are calling your friend.
True.
Is that person considering you their friend?
And are they taking bones back and
There
forth?
they keep
Right.
going, because a lot of
Uh-huh.
the right, a lot of the information I would find out, not that I even wanted it, because I was known as one of the people who they'd say collect. They say Miss, she ain't thinking about this stuff. Just do your work, come in on time. She don't even know, the gossip stuff, and I didn't
Mhm.
have the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
But be careful what you tell them, because a lot of the information I got personal as a manager was from people who they thought was their friends.
Mm.
When you
Mm.
called in sick, but then your Facebook post got all that you was at Disneyland, I wouldn't know that your friend told me. I
Wow.
don't even know how to use Facebook like that. They telling.
And why would they do that, Colette?
You have to ask them. You have to ask
Wow.
them. I would not
That's
know,
trifling.
because
That's
you
trifling.
have a lot of people. it, it, we spend more time at work than we do with our families.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we have people who just never grew up.
Mhm.
They still
And
in
you
high
might have
school,
people in the workplace who are threatened by you, and they
right?
act like they're your friend, or they might be friendly towards you, but they're still threatened by you.
Right. So a lot of them, you'll hear biggest thing that she got a new car. Did she get a raise?
Mm.
Y'all work for the state. Y'all make the same money. Everybody makes the same money here.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, she getting married? I thought she was, people who you thought were your friends,
Mm. Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So be careful with that, because especially I like it, and I hate to say it because I don't want us to get paranoid, but especially if you got yourself together and you black.
Elaborate on that.
Well, I almost feel like folks are gunning for us, and they
Mhm.
are. They
Mhm.
are. It's not in your mind. They are.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
can't even tell you how many sisters, young sisters, I see certain things, I know certain things about this person they hooking up with, because so many of us, we so desire proximity to whiteness.
Hmm.
It's a flex for some of us to say, "Oh, my best friend is white and she's on the
Mm.
job." Not that all white people are bad. No,
Mhm.
indeed, I would never
Mhm.
say that. I don't even think that. You
Mhm.
know, but there be stuff going on. And you might say, "Be careful with that person," because I may know
Mhm.
that they're talking about you. I may
Mhm.
know, and
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many. And it's not just this. It's the other one
Mhm.
too. The
Mhm.
other non-black minorities.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Some of them are doing the same thing, and you'll say, and I have said, I pull young sisters aside and say, okay, you need to, be careful what you're saying to that person.
Mm.
And I had pushback, and later, sure enough,
Mm.
you told me. I did.
Wow.
I
Wow.
did. I did tell you. But,
Yeah.
learn from it. Don't mean everybody in that persuasion is that way. But look
Mhm.
for signs, because people let you know who they are.
Mm.
You
That's
always
so
got
true.
somebody saying, "Hey, oh, aren't you fancy today?" That's a backhanded compliment.
What is it you think it is about specifically for Black people, Black women who appear to have it together? Why do you think that we pose such a threat to these people? So the bosses and these coworkers sometimes.
Because people know that the baddest sisters on the planet, okay, they know.
Yeah.
The finest sisters on the planet, they know. The
Mm-hmm.
smartest, most educated. And we can say educated, but wise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
they want something done, what's that old saying? If you want something done, give it to a black woman.
That's right. That's right.
They
That's right.
know.
That's
Look at
right.
what's happening in all of these social such and such. What are they saying?
Where the
Where the
black women
black
at?
people? And they say black people, but they know they mean black women.
Where
I
the
ain't
black
no
women
shade,
at? Yeah.
no shade to our brothers, but they
Right.
know they talking about black women.
Right.
So
Right.
they know. And
Yeah.
so they spend a lot of that time trying to get in our head. And sometimes we let
Mhm.
them get in our head because we don't understand the game. And as
Mhm.
older sisters, we're not always helping and grooming and telling and preparing
Mhm.
our younger sisters. My mother and I worked together. Okay,
Mhm.
at one time when I first graduated from high school, my mom hit me to the game quick. Now I
Mhm.
did have a bully. And my
Mhm.
mom handled it. I ain't gonna say how she handled it. All I know is something happened in the parking lot, and
It was
next
taken
thing I
care
know,
of. Okay.
really was nice. She was saying hi to me. But
Uh-huh.
today she won't tell me what she said or what she did. Now she did. My mom did train me though. She said, "This is
Mhm.
this." She said, "Don't tell them people your business. If they ask you how
Mhm.
your family doing, everything's great. Everything's
Mhm.
wonderful." My
Mhm.
mother told me it. Now I didn't always listen to her because I always
Mm.
was, I talk too much. But
Mm.
but but the thing is these people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
So I
know,
was like,
and
I'm sorry.
we come in looking unbothered, even when we're
Mm.
breaking inside.
So
We
true. We
we
look
look
good.
we look good, hairs laid. They used to call me pumps because I wore pumps and pearls, different color pearls, real pearls. So,
Mm.
but they didn't know what I was dealing with. I'm going
Yeah.
through a traumatic divorce. I got two little girls. I'm trying, they didn't know. Some
Mhm.
knew. I didn't care,
Mhm.
but some didn't.
But as Black women, we know how to mask.
We
Unfortunately, we've
we put
been
that
taught
man.
that a
We're
long
taught.
time ago. We know how to
Yeah.
mask. So, I was just thinking about just for us Black women that um, you mentioned something that I thought was really telling. You said that it seems like the older Black women maybe haven't schooled the younger Black women about what they may encounter in the workplace, and that's sad. That's sad. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of times they're just busy. Some of
Hmm.
them are tired. Some of
Mhm.
them don't. Some of them see the younger ones as competition.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Some of them don't think it's their responsibility.
Mm.
Okay. Some of them have, they're putting out fires everywhere
Mm.
and they're exhausted.
Mhm.
Some of
Mhm.
them, they focused on getting us in the door, but necessarily didn't focus on keeping us there, showing
Mm.
us the room.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I think that as like older black women, now I'm the older black woman. I'm 60.
Mhm.
Um, I had two extremes. I had the ones when I was in the workplace who saw, hey, I'm messing up here. They'll grab me and pull me to the side and say A, B, C. And I'm
Mhm.
like, what? Da, da, da. Okay. Then I had the ones who, wanted me to mess up,
Wow.
because that happens too. We got to keep that
Yeah.
real, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I think that many of us were just, especially because you figure we're Gen Xers, that baby
Mhm.
boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, the
Mhm.
boomers, many of those boomers, they're exhausted, I think.
Mm.
And when I say
Mm.
exhausted, I don't mean that they can't do anything else. I just think that they're so focused on bigger things that we don't always focus on. I got a sister right here that may
Mhm.
need some mentoring, may need some
Mhm.
coaching. Because what I found is that what white women do well with one another, even though they may not like each other, let's keep that
Mhm.
real, they
Mhm.
will coach one another and mentor one another and stand up for one another, even if they don't like each other. I don't necessarily always see that for us. I have had it happen. I've had them protect me. I have had that happen,
Mhm.
but I've also
Mhm.
been harmed by black women.
Okay, because that leads to my very next question. Of course,
Mhm.
because we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So, why do you think it is that maybe not for all, but why do you think just generally you may see more white women or women of other ethnicities and races maybe doing more of those things, the coaching, the standing up for each other, maybe more so than black women in the workplace? Why do you mind? Why have you seen that, or why do you think that is?
I think because Black women know that they're already being targeted and they're highly visible, and then they don't want to come off as showing favoritism to another
Mhm.
Black woman. So
Mhm.
sometimes they'll put higher expectations on us because they don't want to be seen as, oh, I'm only helping Black women. In fact, I've seen them go completely the opposite, and they'll help mentor. I've seen them mentor non-black women and manage black women. So if the
Oh,
non-black woman messes up, they, let me mentor her. But if the black woman messes up, I'm gonna write her up. I'm gonna
wow.
manage her. I've seen that. I've experienced that
Because they're
myself.
concerned about being seen as having preferential treatment towards the black woman?
Yeah, right. That white gaze, because they're looking. They're like, oh, she only helped black people.
Mm.
They want to make sure that they're not seen that way. I'm thinking of one administrator in particular who, consistently did this to the point where she said, me and her had a conversation, a come to Jesus conversation. And, she asked for it and she got told. She's like, I know you think that I'm doing A, B, C, and D, and I'm like this other person, because she had experienced another black woman who people said did not do enough for black employees. Okay.
Mm.
And her and I she brought it up. I didn't. This was, she
Mhm.
brought it up and she said, I know you think I'm going to say Yvonne. She said, Colette, I know you think I'm like Yvonne. I said, no, you're worse.
Oh, Col-
I told her, you're worse. And she looked at me. I said, because you know better.
Wow.
I said, you know better. She asked me.
Wow.
I
Wow.
said, you know better. You told me about this person. You told me about Yvonne and how that made you feel. And you're turning around doing the same thing. And
Colette, how did she respond to that?
one time I told her that, she started crying.
Wow.
Yeah, I told her. Because
Wow.
listen, I rode for this lady.
Mm.
People did not like me because I rode for this lady.
Mm.
Okay. I was down for her. People
Mhm.
talked about her all the time, and I knew it was because she was black, but I was down for her. But she was doing stuff to black people and allowing it to happen. And
Wow.
after years, I got tired of it. And I had to
Mm.
just finally tell her, you've got to
Mm.
stop.
Mm.
The black people
Wow.
think A, B, C, and D. Now, we had several conversations about this, but when she brought up Yvonne and said, "Oh, I know you think I'm like Yvonne, and they think I'm like Yvonne," so that tells you she knew people were saying stuff.
Right. So you know
But
what you're doing.
she came to me. Why did she come to me? Because she know Colette gonna keep it real.
Mm.
I'm gonna tell you. If you ask me,
Mm.
I'm gonna tell you because I want you to do better.
Right, right, and you know what? That was very courageous of you to tell her
It
the
was very
truth, because some
courageous.
people be like, "No, girl, you're not like her. You're not like her." But you
Mhm.
know, now the ultimate, did she change her behavior?
No, no.
Yikes!
She came after me because she started harassing another black woman and wanted me to get involved in it. And I told her I would not.
Mm,
That'll be a whole nother video. But yeah, no, she did for a little bit. And then what I didn't know that other black people through our agency thought that about her. I didn't know that. I knew black people within our regional area thought that, but
mhm.
I didn't know she was doing it everywhere. I had no idea. See, I didn't know that.
Did she
But
ever speak to why she did that? Why she would do that to black women or black people?
so I know personal stuff about her. I have my suspicions.
Uh,
You know what I
but
mean?
she didn't come out and say. She didn't come to admit anything.
No, I remember one time when I had to have her get off of me, and I told her, I'm talking to you about it, but it's not going to end here.
Mm,
It's not going to end here. You guys going to stop harassing me, and you're going to stop these people because she was over the people who were harassing me. So she could have did
mm,
something.
Mm.
She could have did something. The first time she could have did something. Maybe it happened a couple times, twice, three times. She could have did something. White boy had to come in and stop it. He had to
Interesting.
say, he had to say, you guys are gonna stop it.
Not
I'm
another black woman.
white man.
Mm.
He had, we call him Opie. He looked like Opie. He had to pull me out of the situation and he had to tell them, you guys will stop. White
Mm.
boy.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So I was thinking about as you were talking, what are some ways that the incompetence, insecurity, immaturity show up differently or have a different flavor if it's the all skin folk and kinfolk? How does that
It's
make it look
different.
different
It's
anyway?
it's different with them because again, all skin folk and kinfolk, especially if it's another black woman that's harassing
Mhm,
you,
mhm,
she is competent usually. She's
mm,
educated. She got
mm,
all the stuff going on,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
She's
mhm,
educated, she's competent, but seeking that proximity to whiteness,
mm,
thinking that's the only way up, that's the only way,
mm,
I can be that differing, the othering. So with the other with the all skin folk and kin folk, you
mhm,
have the incompetence is not an issue because they're usually very competent, right? Because
mhm,
I don't
mhm.
care, we be having it going on. Okay.
Right. They're not gonna hire us mediocre at best, not like
Right.
other people.
We
Yeah.
know, like my I had the one black bully boss. She knew her stuff.
Mhm,
Okay. Um, they have the education. Okay. But a lot of them are insecure in terms
mhm,
of they want to
mhm.
be the only one because
Um,
usually they feel like it only could be one, right?
okay.
And then they like, okay, she not gonna take my place and be the one. I'm the one.
Uh,
So there's an insecurity, I think, factor there in terms of seeing the other. You seen that show called The Other Sister?
no, I read the book though.
Similar,
The other black girl.
the other black girl. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Mhm,
Yeah, the other
mhm,
black girl. So it's it's almost like they feel that way, and you don't always get it because you're thinking, oh, a sister, which is how I was. Oh my gosh, I could,
right, right,
and they don't see it that way. And
right.
so the way it's different, like I said, the incompetence is not there because they're confident.
Mhm,
It's you see it more with the insecurity is higher. They
mhm,
want that position.
mm,
They want to make sure that they are the only one, they are the one, and
mm. And try
what-
to obliterate you from even being in consideration.
they try to obliterate you and they want other people to know that I'm different than her. I'm not like her. I'm
Mm,
different.
wow.
So, I'm in the room because there's only room for one in their mind, and I'm that one.
So they've totally bought into that white supremacist way of thinking.
They bought
Okay.
into it. You
Mhm,
remember years ago, you probably too young. There was this show called the Swoop by the Door. It was
mm-mm.
a movie. So they'll have somebody, by the door. And that one by the door is not letting nobody else in.
Ooh.
That's an old play that white supremacists do, when they do allow somebody, one of us in. They don't have to worry about being the bad person because they know that one person is going to do it and they're going to do it worse.
Right, it's like the black overseer on
That's
the
what it seems.
plantation.
That's right. Or
Mhm.
even the black bad cop,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Yes, and I see a comment in the chat, and I completely agree. There's a special viciousness that comes with all skinfolk and kinfolk.
It
Special
is.
viciousness and the level of pain when it's another black person and a black woman who's doing this to you.
It's horrible.
Like,
It is
girl, what?
horrible. It's
Yes.
horrible. It's
Can you speak
horrible.
a little bit to that, like why it's so painful for us as black women when it's another black woman doing this in the workplace?
Kamani, and I'm trying not to even tear up, but it was one of the most painful things. Painful, absolutely painful to realize that this person could do this to you.
Yeah.
And
And she
then
knew better.
and she knew better.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, in my brain, now let me tell you something. Let me back up.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, two older Black women who were not in management said, "Watch her, she's a player."
Ooh.
Okay, they in their 80s now. Well, one of them
Ooh.
passed away. "Watch her, she's a player." They told me that.
Mm.
They told me that. Did I listen? I did not listen.
Mm.
I did not listen to them. So when I
Mm.
say I used to give Black women advice and they didn't listen, I was just like them too. So that's why I don't cut them off after they don't, because I know
Lesson learned. Yeah.
it's a lesson learned,
Mhm.
and I never forgot that. I never ever forgot it. And
Mm.
they said it at two separate times. One didn't know, the other one told me.
Wow.
Right. These are two different older Black women that are
Trying to
in their
warn
80s
you.
now. They're in
Mm.
their 80s now. One of them passed away. She would have been in her 80s. But the point I'm making is that was very painful. Now, I'm saying all this about this person. Nice person, kind person. Yes, very nice person. Because both things can exist, right? But just have certain ways about certain things.
Hmm. So the fact that, and Black women watching this right now, you may be in a similar situation where you're in the workplace and you can't understand why a Black woman might be treating you in such a way, like she's trying to demean you or throw you under the bus or things like that. What we're talking about is that she may subscribe to white supremacist ways of
Right.
thinking. And I
Mhm.
agree, yes, she needs therapy, right? That she is
But
buying into that and she may see you as competition and feel like she needs to uh, basically just wipe you out in terms of you not being in contention or competition. And like you said too, Colette, like not wanting people to think that she's in association with you. It's a very disturbing way of thinking.
it
So,
is.
Colette, if there's a Black woman watching right now and she has a boss who is incompetent, insecure, immature, particularly if she has a Black woman boss who has some of those qualities, maybe not the incompetent, what words of wisdom can you offer to her?
Yes, can I go back to
Mhm.
the all kin focus, not skin focus? One
Yes, yes,
more
yes,
thing I
yes.
want to say. You had
Mhm,
asked me why do they do that too. Another sick reason.
mhm.
I think some of them think that they're preparing us.
What?
That's
Prepare
what I
for what?
think. For harsh reality. That's what I think they tell themselves.
Wow.
I'm preparing you. Does that make do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's very
It's
distorted, thick.
sick. It's
Yeah,
sick.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
It's
think
almost like hazing. It's like hazing.
that's what I wanted to say. It is hazing. It
Ah,
is a form of hazing. Yeah, that's what I'm going
wow.
to say it's a form of hazing. And so if you are a Black woman and you are working for a toxic boss who
Mhm,
exhibits the characteristics of being incompetent, insecure, immature, first you need to recognize what you're dealing with.
mm,
Because if you're dealing with a incompetent boss, okay, the only thing you can do is just do your job. Your
mhm,
job is not there. Your job, you're not there to make them more competent, right?
mhm,
Your
mhm,
job is to do your job and make sure that this person does not have a reason to put something negative in your appraisal report if that's what they're doing, your
mhm,
performance. You don't want to give them any leverage,
mhm.
any room to be able to question your competence.
Right.
Okay. So, and I'm saying that because when I was being harassed, one of the things everybody said is, we may not like her, but she know her job. That's what they all said. Even
Mhm.
people who harassed me said that. Yeah, so you want to be known for being able to do your job.
Mhm,
Don't
mhm,
let your emotions, because it hurts when somebody
mhm,
is harassing you, throw you off your game and not do your job or learn your job. Do
mhm,
it.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
focus on doing your job. If you're dealing with the insecure boss, it is not your job to be the hype person. Okay, it's not your job to be their hype person. Your job is to come in there and to be yourself. Do not minimize who
Mm-hmm.
you are. I used to try to dim my light sometimes
Mm-hmm.
so that I did not make them feel like I was trying to outshine them. You
Mm-hmm.
remember, you remember years ago when they were talking about how Patti LaBelle, they had one of the other singers asked Patti LaBelle come on the stage, and they said, "Well, she out sang everybody, so we took her
Uh-huh.
away." That's her
Oh.
voice. And so Patty talked about how she tried to sing lower to help them feel better. That
Ah.
keep being Patti LaBelle. Let your little
Uh-huh.
light shine, right?
Hmm.
And so if that's if you're dealing with the insecure boss. And if you're dealing with the immature boss,
Wait, can I
understand.
say something real quick? Can I, Colette,
Yeah,
before you go to immature?
yeah,
Okay. So I was just thinking about something when you said that. I had like an aha moment, right? So when
yeah,
you talked about like it's not your job to prop up the insecure boss, right? This is
no,
a very touchy situation I think a lot of us find ourselves in. And it's so funny. I see Tamara here. So she
hi,
actually talked
Tamara.
about this in our video, where she talked about she had a boss where the woman was insecure and Tamara was like, giving her words of encouragement and support. And a woman turned out and just stabbed her in the back.
That
Right.
happened to
And
me.
so yes. And so the challenge when you have an insecure boss is that the insecurity kind of just oozes, eases, it's just everywhere, right? And so they
Mhm,
will say statements sometimes in which their insecurity comes out. And I know
mhm,
I've heard that, and I'm just like kicking myself in the butt because
mhm,
one time this insecure person was like talking about like how he felt like he was a fraud, right? That
mhm,
he wasn't competent, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm trying to encourage him. I'm like, and this dude ended up, stabbing me in the back.
mhm,
But I think a lot of us get in these situations with insecure people and they
mhm,
start telling on themselves about their insecurities. And then we feel, human kindness, right?
that's
You want to
right.
make them
That's
feel
right.
better. But then I think another thing too is that there's a power differential.
That's
So when
right.
you recognize this person is in a higher degree of authority, not competence, but authority, you might
Mhm,
feel like, shoot, even though I know they're incompetent, but I
mhm.
need to kind of prop them up because they have some control over my job. What's it doing in a situation like that?
So for one, so I remember with the person who caused me a lot of grief. Okay, a lot of grief. Um, we had a conversation, and it was heated. It was pretty
Mhm,
heated,
mhm,
and I let her know some things about herself, but then I ended by saying, "You the boss." I
mm,
said, "You run this ship."
mm,
You know, you run this ship. I am not the person here trying to take your job. I'm trying to make your job easier.
mhm,
But I
mhm,
can't do that if I'm spending a lot of energy, you know, having to defend myself.
mhm, mhm,
I want you to win
mhm,
because I'm
mhm.
on your team. When
Right.
it comes to them dumping on you, I've had that happen where they dump
Mhm,
on you, I got this going on and that going on. You know, I don't know that I always handled it the right way, but what I would say is EAP can be suggested to anybody.
true, true. So, okay, so you can suggest that,
And,
right?
and understand that you're not a social worker, you're not a
Mhm,
psychologist, you're not
mhm.
any of those things, but you can, listen to some extent. But then if you feel uncomfortable, state, I feel a little uncomfortable talking about this.
Mm, mhm, mhm. So try to set a boundary if you can,
Yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I
Hmm.
think sometimes too, it's even kind of as uncomfortable as it is, it's even kind of playing the game for a little bit, right? Like even if you know the boss is incompetent, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not a good speaker. I'm not this," and like just speaking to like what can you honestly speak to? Maybe they can do well, that or they do well, but then also be thinking like, "Is
Right.
this a place I want to stay?" or I have to keep propping up an incompetent boss.
Oh, you say incompetent. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought
Or,
you
no, I'm
said
sorry, incompetent, insecure. I'm
I
sorry,
thought you said
insecure.
insecure.
Well, they go
So
together, but yeah.
so for the insecure one, that you're not their therapist. That's number one. And I would just let them know I feel uncomfortable talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For the incompetent one, to me, I have always believed in and I've always practiced, okay, managing up. I've always done that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with the person who I told that, you know better, I recommended some things for her to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what it is you're showing, because when I put it out there, I don't want to just leave you hanging. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I have been in a situation where I've suggested classes, courses to my managers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have suggested it. When they're
Mm-hmm.
incompetent, I have suggested, oh, you said you're not a good writer. So and so's a good writer. How about
Mm-hmm.
see if she can help it? If she could write it for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. You said you're not a good speaker. Maybe you can have so and so do it. I have done that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And not only that, I have been in a situation where they have sent me because they weren't a good speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've actually written the stuff for them and they put their name on it. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that because as a person, when you working for somebody, it's kind of like when you author papers for the professor, his name on the first, right? Then your name,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that fair? It's not fair, but we know that that happens all the
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm. True.
And because you're secure, you know what time it is. You're not
Mm-hmm.
tied to this thing. They are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And so I know you're like, I'm not gonna do that, but
Well, I'm
it's
just like, oh, that's a hard one, right? Like
when
the
you
one part about like it's one thing like if you guys are working on a project, like the whole team, and so you have a collaboration. So there's your part, maybe they're struggling, you help them out. But the part about the fine line, I think when people are watching, they're gonna be like, wait a minute. The fine line is when people steal our work and
well
don't give us credit for it.
Well, there's something when you're working,
No, I
Kimani.
mean like when you don't get credit for it at all. You know what I'm saying? Where they say that this is their total this is their idea and you don't get any acknowledgement
That's right.
for
It
helping them at
happens.
all.
It
Yeah.
happens. The black woman who I was telling you about, she took a lot of my credit stuff, but there's something called work product, and they can do that.
Right. Right.
Okay?
Right.
Understanding that this is your job.
Mhm.
This is your job. They
Mhm.
take credit for your stuff all the time and do not put your name on. Don't mention you.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
why for us, we got to make sure we have our support system together.
Mhm.
You got to
Mhm.
make sure that you are strong, that
Mhm.
this insecurity thing is not, yes, as a human, yes, it's,
Mhm.
you feel a certain way. You feel some kind of way.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many times my stuff has appeared in manuals. My name ain't nowhere in it. My
Wow.
stuff has appeared on, different papers, issue papers, you know, my name is nowhere on it. And I
Mhm.
wrote the entire thing. Did I feel some kind of way? Yes, I did. I
Mhm.
feel some
Mhm.
kind of way. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I'm getting paid
Mhm.
for them to use my brain, to use
Mhm.
my writing skills, to use
Mhm.
my research skills. And I understood that. I get
Mhm.
the game, right?
Mhm.
When the Buffalo Bills wins, they get the victory, not
Mhm.
individuals.
Right.
That's a
Right.
part of being a team. So that's what I mean by it, you know, because when you're in those environments, that's just what it is, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
understanding that you are not your productivity, your worth is not tied to that.
True.
And
True.
that's part of what I think we do as Black women because
Mhm.
we get taken advantage of and exploited so much. I'm not
Mhm.
the only one whose work was taken and
Mhm.
presented to the state,
Mhm. Mhm.
and my
Mhm.
name is not on it anywhere. No, I'm not the only one.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Colette, because a number of people have contacted me about because if I develop something at the old job or I co-develop something at the old job, people comment, "Well, you should have trademarked that. You should have copied." And I'm like, "No, I could not have done that because I did that when I was working there. So that's work product." And so I'm glad you did distinguish that we can't, and I think that's kind of like the sign, like when it's time to move on. When you
Right.
have something, you have an idea, and you can stand on your own with it. You don't
That's
have to
right.
be under an organization because they're gonna take it.
They're
They're
gonna
gonna
take
take it.
it.
You may not get credit for it at all.
My youngest daughter just dealt with that. She was
Hmm.
on a paid internship. I think I told you where it was
Hmm.
when I
Hmm.
discussed it. She came up with some brilliant ideas, wrote the stuff
Hmm.
out. They said that they could not use it and would not use it. When it was time for her
Hmm.
internship to be over with and they did not extend it, they took all her work, all her stuff, and I now see it on their pages
Wow.
exactly the way my daughter proposed it.
Wow.
And I had to explain to her it was work product,
Mm-hmm.
and explain to her how
Hmm.
you get around that in the future. Okay.
Yes.
You use a computer, you don't work on their time. You don't do none of that stuff. Okay. There's a way to get around work product.
Yes.
You know? And so, but again, we can't pull ourselves into what they dealing with, their
Hmm.
insecurity, their immaturity.
Hmm.
And I'm going to use this word tripping. I shouldn't use the word tripping, but I'm going to
Okay.
use it. Tripping on the fact that you don't get credit, that harms you. You should get
Hmm.
credit, but you're not
Hmm.
going to get credit most of the time.
True.
Demanding that you get credit, you're not going to get it, you know. Now, I'm saying this and I have said to people before, wait a minute. I don't see my name on that. I said it when they have given credit to everybody, including the doorkeeper.
Mm.
And I didn't wrote the whole thing. I have said that,
Wow.
but then I didn't die on that hill. It's like if they give it to me, they don't. If they, I didn't worry about it
Right.
because guess what? That skill that I used for that, and like I had to tell my daughter, you have that skill, so you could take that on.
Hmm.
They can't recreate it because they're not you.
Exactly, right? And for us, the importance of us acknowledging, right? Speaking up like, hey, acknowledging how it felt, but also finding other ways for us to show our brilliance where
Yeah.
people are not taking our stuff and trying to say it's mine and all mine. Do your own stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
you're able to do that stuff, do it on your own terms. Do it on your own terms. So, what was the tip you were going to give about immature bosses?
So for immature bosses, um, those are bosses, in my opinion, and I'm not a therapist, you are. I feel like those are the people who never grew up,
Mm,
okay, who are still in high school,
mm,
who are still playing those high school games, right?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so what did we do when the bully tried to bully us on the playground? We, made sure that we were safe, first of
mm-hmm,
all. And so in this setting, it's not even about physical safety, it's about psychological and emotional safety, right?
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
I think going in there with a support group, like me, I had a therapist. I maxed
mm-hmm.
out my EAP benefits every year. As managers, we got more benefits. I maxed them out every year.
Mhm,
I made sure that I was spiritually protected, praying, doing what I needed to do emotionally for me because you
mhm.
cannot do anything about an immature person
True,
who wants to be immature.
true.
You can't do anything but survive that and
Yeah.
to strategically ensure that you stay safe emotionally because they're going to hit at you,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
They're
mhm,
going to poke at you,
mhm,
understanding what your rights are. What does your employee handbook say? What does
mhm,
your union contract say? Understanding your rights.
mhm,
Because when you have that, you have some power and it helps you to go in there confidently and deal with that situation because there will come a time where you will have to say A, B, C, and D.
mm. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and the thing about it is that when we're experiencing, like I guess how we started the conversation, like you can kind of sense that this stuff is happening with your boss,
Yeah, you
but
can.
sometimes you don't really know what to do. You're like, oh my gosh, I got this boss who's, all these other things. But I think that the tips that you just gave, I think that's very helpful for Black women as they're watching. Like, okay, I see what's going on. This is how I can manage myself or how I can navigate being in this environment. as much as you can.
Yes. And can I share that I have a playlist about my playlist? Can I share that?
Yeah.
And so I have a playlist on my channel called Toxic Workplaces and Bosses Survival Toolkit. And
Mhm.
right now it has about 7 videos. And one of them talks about incompetent bosses, what to do, immature bosses, how to identify and what to do,
Mhm.
insecure bosses. So that particular playlist, it's a good playlist. I'm not finished with it. I've just paused it for a minute, but that's
Mhm.
on my channel.
Okay. I'll put in the description section.
Okay, and that might be helpful for
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
They can pick out the video that they want. But again, I'm not finished with it. I have about 7 more videos that are in the queue that I need to release.
Mhm.
But I just feel like the main thing that we can do, and this is so, 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 so hard, is
Mhm.
to not internalize this behavior
Mhm.
and not to self gaslight ourselves.
Mhm.
Marissa talks about self gaslighting. I know you do too.
Mhm.
And to understand that this behavior is not a measurement or it's not an indication of our worth. Now, if we're not doing something that we need to do or we need to correct something, we need to self-assess and
Mhm.
self-correct as well, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Mhm.
understanding that your worth is not based on how this person treats you. Your worth is not based on whether you're in the in group, out group, because that's what it feels like. You feel like,
Absolutely.
I'm left out. Why am I left out? And all of those type of things. I was left out of things and I didn't care.
Mhm.
But, understanding that, but at the
Mhm.
same time, you're not there to be somebody else's doormat either.
Right.
So be
Right.
prepared to protect yourself and
Right.
avail yourself to all of the tools that you have. Learn the tools that you have in your arsenal. Learn how to use those tools. But I do want to say this, and I want to keep it 100%.
Mhm.
When you start protecting yourself, be prepared for the fire because it will come. Be prepared.
Oh.
So, if that means you got to be ready to leave,
Mm.
you got to be ready to, do whatever you need to do.
Mm.
Understand? Because I don't like when people tell people to do things and then don't tell them
The consequences, possible
the
consequences, the risk involved.
consequences. Because we are talking about, I say incompetent, insecure, and immature, but we also talking about ignorant people.
Oh, that too.
You
That
know what
too.
I mean? We talking about ignorant people who
Yeah.
will do ignorant things
And desperate.
and desperate. You know what I mean? Because they know they incompetent.
Right.
They know
Right.
they
You know they can't go
immature.
nowhere else and
Yeah,
get what they got at this job. Yeah.
they know they insecure. They know these things, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, be prepared for the
Mhm.
consequences. You know, like I told you about my daughter leaving this one place. I let her know this is what may happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think I agree that it's very important for us to talk about the risk involved in anything that we do, possible
Yes,
consequences. And I also think it's important for us to talk about our options too, right?
yes.
So, everybody, shameless plug, Colette is one of our speakers at the
Oh,
Job
yeah.
Liberation Virtual Summit.
That's right.
So, how can a Black woman determine when it's time to just that another one of your quotes that I do for you is,
Walk away
knowing, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. As
sometimes.
Black women, sometimes we think, we got to fight these people. You're not going, get me out of this. This is a good job. I'm going to stay here. I got to stay for my team. All these things we say to ourselves, but we're dying inside because of the job. So, how can we as Black women decide when is it time for us to plan to walk away in a sense of like exit planning to replace our income and our benefits? Shameless plug again, the virtual summit is coming up May 1st. So you need to register. The link is in the description section and going across the screen. So how can Black women tell, Colette, or what are some ways to determine like, you know what, this might be a good time for me to really think about exit planning?
I think when your health is impacted, it's time to go.
Mhm.
It's time, and I won't say time to go. What I'll say is time to think about other options. I'll say it that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
When your family relationships and relationships in general are being
Mhm.
impacted,
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
the relationship with yourself, most of all, is being impacted.
Mm.
Okay. I know
In
for
what
me,
way? How can you elaborate on that?
when you find that you're not eating properly, you're exhausted, and so you don't even eat. There
Mm.
were times I just wouldn't eat.
Mm.
Okay. When you find that you are always at your desk because you feel like if you leave, you're too behind on things, you're not doing the basic self-care for yourself.
Mm.
When For me, my hair fell out. So I'll
Mm.
show you a
Mine
picture. I don't know
too.
if you guys could see this, but
I can see. Yeah.
my hair fell out. People
Wow.
don't know it. They think I cut my hair like that. My hair was in a bowl at the top, and I had long hair, long, long hair. Okay. And there was a bowl at the top, and it was stress.
Mm.
Hairdresser couldn't stop it. And so we cut it off.
Mhm. Mhm.
We cut my hair off.
Mm.
It was cute, but we cut it off, right?
Yeah.
And when you for me, my blood pressure shot up. So when you, like I said, you start feeling, I was afraid to go to sleep some nights because I thought I would die in
Mhm.
my sleep of a heart attack
Woo.
more than once.
Mm.
Crying on, before I go to work, hating Sundays. You do the videos. You said we do this on Sundays because of how you and we talked
Mhm.
about how we felt on Sundays.
Mhm.
My Sundays, my stomach was in knots. I had
Mm.
digestive problems the
Mm.
entire Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I wouldn't even be dressed right now if I wasn't on this live on Sunday. And I feel good on Sundays now. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so, and when you're, when something inside your spirit, your soul just says, I'm tired.
Mm. Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
tired.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And Colette, like you said, options, that we do have options as Black
tired.
women. We
Hmm.
really do. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So, Colette, as we're winding down, can you please share with the audience about your YouTube channel, your books,
Oh, yeah.
workbooks?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Colette Elizabeth. It's a YouTube channel with content curated for my sisters, Black women, who I love dearly, all Black women, and even those who are bossy. You come on to my channel, I'll help you be better. And I try to just focus on things that impact us. Okay, primarily us. And then I also created a workbook. It's called the Personal Mission and Vision Statement Workbook. I don't have my copy in my office with me, but it's a beautifully prepared workbook. It's color. I think it's a 178 pages, if I'm not mistaken. But what it does is it helps you to write down specific visions that you have, vision statements for different areas of your life. For example, financial stability, career. What do you want to do? You write your vision, then you write your mission. And I have all of that in the workbook. I used to give personal vision workshops in person. I have been doing it since 2013. And so I've
Mhm.
wrapped up all of that workshop information and put it in the workbook. And also right now on my channel, it's called the personal vision and mission, create your personal vision and mission playlist that has 13 hours of
Wow.
content. It includes a 2-day personal vision workshop. It includes a 5-day personal vision and mission challenge, where we actually went through each part of the workbook. And you don't have to buy the workbook to participate in the
Well,
challenge.
how do you get the workbook? Tell them how to get the
The
workbook.
workbook is on Amazon, and I can give you the link for that. I think I did. I not
I'll,
give
I'll
it?
get it.
Okay, so the workbook is on Amazon. I have that. I have the gratitude journal for Black women. It's beautiful. And I have two other journals on Amazon with Black women on the cover. They're all absolutely gorgeous. And let's see. But I wanted to say with the workshop, right now that workshop is open. I don't have it behind a paywall or anything. It's totally free. Um, I also have some work with me sessions in that uh, playlist. So it's neat. It's a neat playlist. It helps women to do what they want to do. Um, if you're wanting to consider your options, this personal vision workshop can help you, and so can the workbook. So, but
Okay.
again, you don't need the workbook to participate in the workshop. You can just get you a binder. I'm get you a little notebook from the dollar store and write stuff down. I don't want you know not having the workbook to be an obstacle in participating. Yeah.
Okay. But if you can get the workbook, which is on
Oh,
Amazon, okay, and go to the workshop, okay?
thank
So
you.
I'm going to read the community chat and then we're going to start winding down.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Some people suck at leadership and shouldn't manage anyone. I agree.
Not a lie told. I agree.
Straight to the point, right? Okay,
Yep,
so we talk about intimidation. Some people have a spirit of entitlement.
that's
Agreed,
true.
agreed. Hello, ladies. Absolutely, there's a significant distinction between a leader and a boss.
That's right.
I've encountered many instances, colleagues, insecurity in an effort to learn and grow. This is truly a good topic. Kindly remember, oh, yes. So make sure as you're watching this video to give this video a thumbs up and also share this video with at least 2 other Black women and subscribe to my channel and subscribe to my friend Colette Elizabeth's YouTube channel as well. I've encouraged too many instances of insecurity from managers in my efforts to learn. Yeah, it's so, yeah, that's a
It's
really
real.
awkward position to be
Yeah,
in.
it's real.
Yes. I like what you said. Say it so. What you're saying is so true. Preach. You better say it. Save in this episode. Okay, that's right. Wow. So let me just clarify. So somebody wrote in the chat about pet to threat theory.
Mhm.
What we're talking about is not pet to threat. Okay. What
Right.
we're talking about was a situation where somebody is cool with a boss who is incompetent or whatever, and they get certain favors, right? So they get a job position or things like that. So like they're the pet, okay? Or like the in group, the clique, they're like the pet for the workplace bully or whatever, right? Pet to threat is a little different. Pet to threat deals with when someone feels like you're outshining them and they get intimidated by that. So it's a little different than that, okay? That's because you're mature and boss, incompetent and insecure, right? So he said that you're mature, Colette, and
No,
your boss is incompetent and insecure.
he was.
Insecure are the bosses are the worst. Yes, they
They are.
are. Ugh.
They're terrible.
Ugh. I've worked with bosses who say they want strong people. When they get them, they don't know how to handle them.
That's
No, they
right.
don't.
That's right.
They
She's
really don't. They
they
really
don't.
don't.
Mm-mm.
It reminds me of do you remember A Few Good Men, that movie?
Yes.
Okay, remember Jack Nicholson? You can't handle the truth,
You can't
right?
handle
So
They can't
you
handle
can't
it.
handle the truth. You don't want a strong person,
They
okay?
don't.
There's a
They,
difference between managers and leaders. They
that's right.
ain't the same thing. True.
They're
It's
not.
it's pure
Can,
jealousy.
can I
Go
say
ahead.
something right there? And I meant to say that when we were talking. So thank the person who made that comment. There is a difference between being a supervisor, being a manager, and being a leader. Not
Mm,
all managers and supervisors are leaders.
mm,
Okay? Period. Those are different tools that we employ at different times. So leaders know when to use their management tools to manage whatever it is, managing the time, managing the stuff, right?
mhm,
Supervisors, they're going to provide day-to-day oversight over things. But leaders, they are a little more broad in terms of they
mm,
know when to use these different tools when to employ them. They know when to be more hands-on and when to be hands-off. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So we can
Absolutely.
do another video on that if you want. But yes,
Yeah.
she is right.
I think
Yeah.
that's very informative right there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I've had a lot of bosses.
Yes.
I've
You
had
have.
some good leaders. I've had some good leaders too.
Yeah.
And some of the younger ones don't want to listen. Some of the younger ones are disrespectful. I don't put up with it. They have the responsibility to also be receptive. What are your thoughts about that, Colette?
I think that some of the younger sisters that we have, they have not, like, for example, Gen Xers, those
Mhm.
born between 1964, I mean, 65 and 1980, we have had the opportunity, especially the older ones, to see how things were before a lot of these protections and a lot of these foundation was put in place, right?
Mhm.
So we probably are more receptive than some of the younger ones who are not really, they didn't experience the struggle.
Mm,
Okay. So, and they have been taught that they all have an opinion. That's important.
mm,
Okay. By us. Right.
mm,
And
mhm,
so, yes, I did find that some of the younger ones were a little less receptive to mentoring and coaching until it got too late for them.
mm,
And I mean, I shouldn't say too late, but until something happened, you know, whereas some of the older and some of the older ones, so I was in the middle. The people that I managed, the managers that reported to me, they all were older than me. They were baby boomers.
mm,
So I had to deal with both the baby boomers and the millennials.
mm,
But what I will say is that for the younger generations, it's how we talk to them.
mm,
They want to know that we feel that their input is important. Okay.
mhm,
And they want to know that we're not talking at them, we're
mhm,
talking with them. They want a conversation.
mm.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair enough, right? So they want to feel heard. They want to also
Mhm.
acknowledge that, their reality, their experience are different than ours, and
That's
so
right.
be open to that. But I
Mhm.
think again, it's the approach. But then some of them may not be open to
No,
listen,
may not. That's true. And if they're
right?
not, then that's they'll be back.
Right, unfortunately, when things get bad, unfortunately, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so it's correct. I'm glad they are exposing these bad managers. Thank you for highlighting such an important issue. We'll talk about that. Okay, Colette, imagine reporting to a manager that is, oh, they're talking about somebody else. Imagine reporting to a manager who's insecure. Yes, it is. That is true what you're saying. They need therapy. Yes, so true. I agree 1,000%. If anyone is interested in managing the company, needs to make it mandatory for them to go for people management skills training. What do you think about that,
Mhm.
Colette?
Most positions do require that.
Hmm.
But they require, well, I'll say it like this. They require a minimum amount of time
Okay.
initially, and then they also have continuous training, units that they have to get. I know when you work for a government agency, there's a minimum amount of time, and they really don't spend as much time as they need to on the leadership part. They spend
Mm,
a lot of time on the management and supervision part. And
mm,
so they don't spend the time needed to help leaders develop leadership competencies.
mm,
These are things that supervision training and management training don't necessarily address because, again, they're different. And
mm,
so, yes, that's why a lot, I was getting my PhD in leadership
mhm.
because we need to build leaders. And
Absolutely.
there's specific competencies that are required. And in fact, if we had some of those leadership requirements in place, a lot of these people wouldn't be in leadership.
Girl, you know what? It reminds me of a question I wanted to ask you, girl. Okay,
Okay.
so I heard a video one time, and they were talking about a lot of leaders. No, no, excuse me. People in leadership positions, because they may not be leaders. A lot
Hmm.
of people in leadership positions exhibit. I think it was Dr. Ramani who talked a lot about narcissistic behaviors.
Oh,
She
yeah.
talked about a lot of these people exhibit narcissistic behaviors.
And it's rewarded. And it's rewarded. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. In fact, there are some studies, you might have seen this, where they say that some leaders, there's a high number of people in executive leadership positions
Mhm.
that exhibit psychopath, psychopath.
Sociopathic?
Yeah. Yes.
Ooh,
It's
ooh,
rewarded.
yikes.
Because what you got to realize is that the leadership structures, we're just separating leadership from management. Okay. For years, they were leadership, management, supervision. Those terms were all
Mhm.
used interchangeably.
True, true.
And management, the structures of management, the hierarchical forms that we have in place, keep in mind those were built on the military systems, right? That are
Mhm.
very, very rigid. And
Mhm.
they were not meant for because I even hate saying managing people. I say you
Mhm.
lead people, you manage things, right? But I
Mhm.
say, and so these structures were not meant to be put in a place to lead people, right?
Mhm.
Because you went from managing the management styles of the military to just industrialization, right? And
Mhm.
so leadership is kind of growing up, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of growing up, it's kind of making its space in. I think around about the maybe the 80s, 90s, they start using leadership and
Mhm.
realizing that leadership is separate from management, is separate from supervision. And then within leadership, you have the skill of leadership, and then you have the art of leadership, right? So the
Mhm.
skill says, I have all the competency, but then the art is, how do I practice and demonstrate those competencies, right?
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
art of leadership is what makes it look easy, right?
Mhm.
It's when Whitney Houston used to hit those notes and we say, "Oh, I think I can hit that note." That was the
Uh-huh.
art and that was the art and the anointing, right? It was not
Mhm.
the skill, it was the
Mhm.
art, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so leadership is still growing up. So you have a lot of people that use these terms, management, supervision, and leadership interchangeably. They're not the same.
Mm.
They're not the same. No, no.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's very informative. Very
Yeah.
informative. I think, well, that'd be a whole nother thing. But yes, that sounds like a great idea, the management skills training, but also like you talk about the different levels to it, and there's
Mhm.
complexities. Yes. So let's see, okay, they make it up. Thank you for having this conversation. Recognize that if you are an empath person, watch out. Yes, I had a white coworker break into my work laptop and I caught her viewing my desktop. Nothing
Yes.
happened to her.
Nothing. I
Oh,
was on the phone. I know we getting going over, but
weird.
you guys making me remember stuff. I had a manager, black manager, call me. I was on a special project.
Mhm,
Black manager, she was being harassed and bullied, had been
mhm,
harassed and bullied for years.
mhm,
Okay. So she calls me. She tells me that she tells me what her manager is doing. Her manager is harassing her clearly. She
mhm,
decides she doesn't want to file anything at that point, whatever. So she was asking me how to create this, like, it was an Excel sheet to
mhm,
capture something and all that. I'm not the best at Excel, but I can do it. I can get around.
mhm.
So we're in there, we're doing what we need to do, and I'm showing her how to upload it to this central file. And I told her, I said, keep a backup for yourself because folks be doing stuff. While we were on the phone, she uploads it, right? She uploads it. I go in there and look because I still have access, even though I'm no longer in that office. I'm on a special assignment. I still have access. I'm looking, make sure it's in there. It's in there. About maybe 10 minutes later, her boss, and I'm saying boss, comes to her and says, I told you to upload A, B, C, and D. They didn't know I created it. Okay. Okay. I told you to upload A, B, C, and D. You didn't do it. And she says, I did. Now I'm on the phone with her while this is going on. And she said, I did upload it. We go in there, it's gone.
Wow.
It's gone. So I told, she said, you told me, Colette, to do the backup. I
Mm,
sure did. So I had her call IT. IT goes in and says, this person just deleted it. Guess who that was?
Colette, Colette. It was her boss?
It was her boss. And IT told us the time she deleted it. It was her boss. She
Wow.
said, Colette, you told me. I said, girl, so yes, that stuff happens. Yes, ma'am.
Mm.
We get dirty.
You spilling all the tea, girl. All the behind the scenes.
More,
Oh my gosh.
more, yes.
That is
I
trifling.
was on the phone with her
Woo.
when this happened because IT said, who is such and such? And she says, my boss. She said, well, such and such deleted this file today at this time. And it was just
Wow.
like 5 minutes prior. We were
Wow.
trying to set her up. And I had been telling her, this is what they're going to start doing. They're going to start sabotaging your work. You do something there. I said, so I had been told her, keep copies in your own drive. This is
Mm.
before the cloud. So keep
Mhm.
copies in your own drive of everything you submit and upload to the central files, everything. And document when you upload it, it'll be on the system. But if they take it
Mhm.
and delete it or change it, make it
Mm.
wrong,
Wow.
yes, ma'am, that
Wow.
happened.
Thank you for sharing that that does happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So people saying they're not surprised that that happened. I've experienced the consequences now. I'm sorry to hear that. She's right. Be prepared for the fire. True. So very true. So again, follow Colette Elizabeth on YouTube. Okay.
Oh,
And
thank you.
also she has a workbook. So check that out. That is on, you can get that through Amazon, and she has a workshop coming up. When's the workshop?
The workshop already happened. It's in the
Oh, the
playlist.
workshop already happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
Love.
will be starting a leadership playlist probably within the next couple of months. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll put the playlist she just mentioned about toxic workplaces. I'll put that in the description section of the YouTube. Okay.
And do the create your personal vision and mission workshop. Put that in there too. You want me to send you those links?
Yeah.
I send it to you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll add those to the YouTube section, everybody. Okay. I'm so glad they're talking about these demons on the job. Yes, we are
Demons.
exposed to the truth.
Take
Okay.
your blessed oil in there, honey. I used to take my blessed oil. That's true. I took my blessed oil in there. People knew
Yes.
this and my Bible.
Wow. Wow. What do you do when the supervisor is respectful, but he hires his family on the down low as middle managers? He also knows his family treats employees like trash and does nothing. What would you say,
If
Colette?
if that person
Mm.
is not the owner of the company, then I would share your concerns. I've had to do that with the person over them. But again, be ready for the fire.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
If that person's hiring their family members does not um, impact you, do your job and start thinking about your options.
mm,
Because if that person is allowed to do that and nothing happens, that means the people at the top already know about it and
mm.
there's nothing you can do. And
Right.
you have to decide if that's a hill you want to die on.
Yeah, yeah. So plan in silence. You know what I'm saying? Like start exit planning in silence, but it sounds like that's not a healthy environment.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. Never
especially
talk.
if you say especially since she said that they're mistreating the other folks.
Right.
Yeah.
He does nothing. He knows it and he does nothing about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So never talk out at least defensiveness. Agreed. I believe that. Let's see. Um, no. So, okay, the issue of pet the threat, that's what I was just talking about what pet the threat was. But the earlier example, we talked about pet the threat, a pet. That was not the pet the threat. I hope that's not confusing. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. To my dear friend Colette Elizabeth, thank you
Yes.
so much for being my guest.
Of
Any last
course.
words you would like to share with the audience before we end today?
I just want to say that, understand that you are valuable, and I know people say that all the time, but you are valuable outside of what you're able to produce. You're valuable outside of your title.
Hmm.
And a lot of times when you have toxic bosses that are harassing you, it's because they see the diamond that you are. See, people don't try to steal, they don't try to steal stuff that's not valuable. They try to steal stuff that's valuable. And understanding that your value is something that is not transferable to them, right? And be confident in who you are, and do not internalize these experiences, even though it's hard.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have your support. Don't be ashamed to have your support. I encourage you to get that support outside of the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a therapist, pastor,
Mm-hmm.
the different people. I had them all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And know that you are not alone. There is a lot of content on Dr. Kimani's channel that helps, but take care of yourself. Prioritize your health.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't get to the point where you are stressed out, you think you're having heart attacks and all of that stuff. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listen to your spirit. you-
Yes.
and continue to love yourself. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. And I even said, I just thought about what you said about the fears of going to sleep. The fears
Yeah.
of going to sleep, of being worried that you're going to have a heart attack. Like that's
Yeah.
profound.
Yeah,
That
that
is
is.
profound. Yeah. I saw a few more comments come in. Now I'm over here tracing back to see if that's ever happened to me. Some managers need people skills. Agreed. And
All
therapy, therapy. Okay. I've had a manager delete a file of mine as well, shaking my head. I don't know how I happened upon this channel, but I'm very glad I did. Good.
of
Y'all are validating my experiences. Oh, excellent. I
Hey,
love that.
can I say one more thing that I did not say? If you are dealing with any of this stuff, please document.
Mm,
Document the who, the where, the what, and the when.
mhm.
Please. Now, you don't have to over document to the point if it's going to stress you out to document, don't document. Maybe
Mm,
use a recorder. Use your phone. Don't use your work phone, and don't document using your work computer.
right.
One of the things that I did, and I created a dummy email, was called collect documentation. I sent emails when I needed to, blind copies. So
Okay.
be careful with that. Document, and the anti-HR lady, she has a
Mhm.
documentation
Journal.
system. Go ahead.
No, it's just documentation journal, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she has a documentation journal on
Mhm,
her, so check that out
mhm,
if you need. If you don't have to buy nothing if you can't buy it.
mhm,
Just
mhm,
get you a spiral bound notebook, date it, the
mhm,
time, and write it down. I found it to be very cathartic. Yes, it can be stressful. The minute
mhm,
it gets stressful, stop doing it.
mhm.
I don't know. I just wanted to say
Yeah.
that.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So access resources like the anti-HR lady, therapy, but I think another sign of if all of this is exhausting, that's when you start thinking about options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Offensive
Absolutely.
thoughts definitely need training. I was at college counseling center, and everyone is more equipped than the mediocre white male director. Ooh, ouch. I'm working hard to get into private practice. Okay, I love it. Do your own thing, girl.
Mhm.
Some people think when you know the systems or know the clients that you're supposed to be in management.
That's true. That's true. So we can have another video about that. That's another issue. A person thinks, okay, they do their work so well. There's,
Hmm.
let's say it's claims processing. You process
Hmm.
maybe medical health insurance claims. Oh, she processes claims so well. Let's put her in management. And then the person is horrible. Those are
Hmm.
different skill sets. They're good at doing their
Hmm.
work, but they may not be, good at being in management. So yeah,
That's
that happens, and I see it all the time.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a
Yeah.
really good point. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Thank you, ladies, for this talk. What about the men managers and micromanagement after they see you don't need their input to excel?
That's I experienced that with the black boss who, I was talking to, telling you about the administrator. One of the issues she had, they had me, before I had my own office, I temporarily ran an office in the interim because everybody retired. So
Hmm.
I was left there. And I felt comfortable. I did my job. I had seen, I felt comfortable. And
Mhm.
one of the issues I remember when she came over to one of her visits, which she should be doing, visiting her offices, she said, "Well, you don't seem like you need me." And I said, "I don't." And she was upset behind that. She was upset. So that's an insecurity issue. That's a you problem, and that's what it is. It's a you problem, because honestly, one of the things I explained to her, I says I don't, and I thought you would be happy because that's less pressure on you.
Right.
You can
Right.
trust me with the office. Is everything
Right.
okay? Are you receiving some negative information or feedback about my performance over here? She said, no. I said, well, are my numbers looking okay? We getting our work done within a timely manner, right? She said, yes. I said, will I do that so that you could look good and you don't have to worry about
Exactly.
me?
And I
So,
want the organization to do well. I'm
so
doing my
that,
job.
so that tells you that it's not rational.
Right.
These things are not
Right.
rational.
Right.
It's not rational. I'm doing it
Yeah.
so you don't, and I'm not tripping on the organization. I'm trying to do this because you're a Black woman. You got a lot that you're running. You have a ton of offices you're over. I want to
Mhm.
make sure I'm not one of them that you're having to have to come check on all the time, and make corrections in. I want to make your job easier.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
again, that's a telltale sign that somebody is struggling with insecurities and all that kind of stuff. So there's, we'll go back and look at the tips that Colette offered, but you
Mhm.
need to be aware of what you're dealing with,
Yeah,
right?
you do.
Question: how do you document without witnesses? So, Colette, what would you say about that?
You have witnesses. You can write the witnesses' names down. Okay. If there are witnesses, write them down. You don't have to say, will you be a witness? If
Mhm.
Kelly was in the room when the boss yelled at you, you write down witnesses. Kelly so and so. What was Kelly's job description or job title?
Mhm.
Where was it? Did it happen in the lunchroom? Did it happen in the conference room? What time did it happen? You
Mhm.
know, was Timothy there? Yes, Timothy there. He's a janitor. You can write those things down. You need to
Mhm.
write down the witnesses. That does not mean you have to go to the witness and say, hey, can I list you as a witness? Because most people are going to not want to be in it. They don't want to be involved. But write it down.
And this is your own documentation that you have
Yeah.
for you at home. So you don't need to corroborate with anybody,
Yeah.
about what they saw or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And you don't even have to share with people that you're documenting either.
Right, right. Good
Yeah.
point. Good point. This is a blessing from God, this talk. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Because
Thank you.
that can lead to the he said, she said, right? If you try to go back to the other person. I
Yeah.
worked in an office where someone took offense to me wiping down my own workspace.
Okay. Yeah, they got problems. They got problems, girl. You work with people. Listen, you work with people. I look. I used to be at work going, "How this person get this job?" Is you know what I mean? Yeah, people got problems.
True.
You deal with the world. We
Yeah.
had people urinating on walls and bathroom right there. I mean, all kind of stuff. So
Wow.
you dealing with people and they stuff.
Yes.
Keep
Yes. Yes.
wiping your desk down if you want to wipe your desk down.
Keep doing that, and whatever is happening at your job that it's just not the job environment that you want to be in, or like Colette talked about, or if it's causing you harm on any level, then you need to think about your options. Okay,
Think
you need to
about
think
your
about your
options.
options.
And the
Yes,
people
there's
who
options.
mad about you wiping down your desk, make sure you don't eat none of their food that they offer you. Don't eat their cookies and all that. I made some cookies. Don't
Nothing
eat
from the
the cookies.
potluck.
Uh-uh.
Right. Okay, this is the last question. If you're
Okay.
interested in management, why don't companies make it mandatory for wait, no, wait. Oh my, two came in the same question. Okay, if you're interested in management, why don't companies make it mandatory for all of them to go into people management skills? That's a one. And this is two. This is the last question. I promise.
It's okay.
How have you ever experienced a Black woman asking you to help you to deal with a racist coworker, but then afterwards they go joke and have conversations with the same racist coworker?
That happens.
Ooh.
Well, I'll answer the first question. The first question you said people skills. So one of the things that many companies, especially the larger companies, do is
Mhm.
they have leadership competencies, and one of them is interpersonal skills. So
Mm.
there's interpersonal skills, there's employee engagement, there's different types of communication skills
Mhm.
that are included in most of your leader programs that companies, especially larger companies, have. If
Mhm.
they don't have that, one of the things you could do is see if there are benefits. That's why it's good to know your handbook and your union contract if you have them, but find out if your company will pay for you to receive outside training if they don't have the
Mhm.
internal training available.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, there is something, and I'll be doing a video on that, called personal curriculum. You can prepare yourself. You have free courses. You have Coursera. You have all of these free courses or low cost courses where you can invest in yourself. Now, one thing I'll share with you,
Mhm.
one of the complaints that I personally have as a manager
Mhm.
or a leader is people who do not want to invest in themselves. And
Mm.
then they want me to mentor and coach them. So, one of my number one rules, and anybody who knows me will tell you, I will ask folks before I accept them as a mentee or before I accept coaching them, is I'll ask them, how have you invested in your own professional development? What steps have you taken?
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
they haven't taken any steps, I will not mentor or coach them. I will give
Mm.
them the steps and then have them come back,
Right.
because you got to want it as much as me.
True.
And
True.
the jobs are not necessarily equipped to provide you with all of the skills necessary to be a good leader. That's something
Mhm.
that you got to want to do yourself. And what
Mhm.
I was referring to is called MOOCs, MOOCs, Mass Open Online Courses.
Hmm.
And you could, edX is one, Coursera is one. There's a bunch of them.
Okay. Okay. And then what about the one about the racist let me see. Have you ever heard of another black woman asking for help to deal with a racist coworker, but then afterwards they go joke and have conversations with the same racist coworker?
That stuff happens because what happens is people are trying to get people on their side, and then
Mm.
when they get on their side, they go back with the person who they claim was doing things to them due to race or what have you. Yes, it happens all the time. The same administrator that I had told you about, the black woman, she used to talk about some of the people who harassed me later and say that they had some tendencies. That's why it was very difficult for me, and spent time off the job with them.
That's
Yes, ma'am.
that's
Spent
crazy.
time, went to fairs, did all kind of stuff.
Wow.
And it was so bad, even the white girls were saying, well, maybe she want to be the only black one. The white girls was telling me that.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That
So
says a lot.
that happens. And so how do you deal with it? To me, I tell my children and I tell everyone, information is data.
Mm.
Knowing that this person did that allows
Mhm.
you to make a better data-based decision during the next interaction with that person who did that. It's
True.
data.
True.
You need it. That's a God showing you. You cannot
Mhm.
trust that person.
Yes.
So
Yes.
one, put it in your gratitude and be great your gratitude journal and be grateful that you saw it, because
Mhm.
the person didn't just do that to you and they didn't just start. They've been doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. So pay
then
attention.
the next time, don't get involved with it.
True.
That's
True.
why the information came to you. Because
True.
what will happen is, when and if that ever gets elevated up, that person who brought it to you is going to throw you under the bus and said, Kelly is the one who brought it to me. And she
Mm.
brought me into it when she the one brought it, when Kelly brought it to you.
Mm. So
Does
watch
that make
yourself.
sense? Yeah.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to my dear friend Colette Elizabeth,
Yes.
otherwise known as the Sister Harriet, part of the
Yes.
Harriets. So
Yes.
please tune in this Tuesday as you're going to see all three Harriets together. So it's going to be Colette. She's the older sister. I'm the middle sister. And
Yes.
then Marissa Price is the baby sister. So we're going
Baby.
to be on talking this Tuesday. So we have a special surprise for you. So this Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central time. Again, give this video a thumbs up. Share this
Yes.
video with at least 2 other Black women. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Colette Elizabeth's channel. If you have not already gotten the waiting list for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, get
Yes.
on the waiting list.
Get on that
Okay,
waiting list.
yes. So everyone, I will see you all later. Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Colette.
Thank you.